The weeks and months of agonizing are finally at an end. The drivers have sustained qualifying weekend, and the 33 fastest have locked their eyes on the racing capital of the world. Welcome along to RaceSpot TV, to the PRI channels, for the 5th running of the PRI Hoosier 500, as we dive into our pre-race coverage. Arjuna Kankipani joined alongside by Lewis McLeod and Gary Godso. Our countdown to green, presented by Visitor Watch Company, ticks away in the top left. It's not 5 minutes, it's an hour and 5 minutes. But Lewis, great to have you back with us here in the commentary booth for another one of these great PRI Hoosier 500s. It all started a couple of weeks ago with practice, building up to a full weekend of qualifications, and the 33 fastest are now locked in and ready to go racing.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been able to commentate here in the virtual Brickyard, so glad to be back. A 500-mile race is always thrilling and exciting. Qualifying makes such a big difference. Obviously, having already happened, drivers have set their minds on the race already, got themselves prepared mentally for it. I think it's going to be a cracking race. We know it always is here, indeed.
Absolutely, but one thing, Gary, that has been a major intrigue is after qualifying weekend was done, on Tuesday, the car on iRacing updated with a hybrid system, and our teams and drivers have had to thrash on the setups in order to get their cars dialed in for the 200 laps of racing that lie ahead.
Yeah, I can't think. The only example I can think of is when the teams went from one race and then the following race with Mid-Ohio, this is a couple seasons ago, and that's when they launched the hybrid for real. That's in real IndyCar racing. I can't think of another situation where teams and drivers have been asked to, in the real racing world, after qualifying, I want you to put an entirely new technology into your car, and then you're going to go racing with that. And oh, by the way, all the setups and everything you've been working on for years, they may or may not be working or may not be applicable at all. So what I've been hearing from the drivers is there is a trick to this. There is a way that you can effectively deploy the hybrid to attack and to defend, but it alters the way the car feels. And one of the things that we've heard about the most is coming to pit road, especially under green flag conditions. The car just isn't what it used to be when you try to decelerate from 220 plus down to 60 miles per hour on pit road speed limit.
Yes, lots for us to focus on in terms of that car balance as we dive through the course of our pre-show. But as we mentioned, qualifying weekend last week, so much excitement, and we are looking forward to talking to our front row starters in a few moments' time. But before we do that, when Tanner Watkins and Ryan Schull took the ownership back of the PRI Hoosier 500 at the end of 2024, one of the things that was key on their mind was growing the race purse and bringing on some great partners. One of them, of course, is the performance racing industry, who have just wrapped up their 2025 Expo conference at the Indianapolis Expo Center. And so let's show you a little bit of what has been happening over the weekend. Great partners at PRI celebrating sim racing across of the weekend as well.
Look up. Out there, the universe stretches further than we can imagine. Filled with possibility. Filled with potential, filled with untapped speed. When those lights drop, it's more than a start. It's ignition, a launch sequence, a controlled explosion of power and precision. Feel it. The violence, the beauty, the electricity of pure speed unleashed. This is the frontier, where innovation meets adrenaline and brilliance turns wrenches at 2 a.m. This is engineering at full throttle, fueled by vision, grit, and a relentless push for the next tenth of a second. Every detail matters. Every decision counts. Because excellence is not an accident, it's built. And this is the heart of it all. You, the racers, the dreamers, the doers, the builders, the tuners, the storytellers, the believers. This community isn't just connected by speed, it's powered by passion, a passion that refuses to slow down. Every race is a chance to push limits. Every lap a challenge. Every finish line a reminder of why we chase this life. Winning isn't just a moment, it's a mission. Landing on the moon? Well, that's racing's version of a perfect pass at 300 miles an hour. So buckle in, because this week we go wide open. This week we celebrate horsepower, innovation, and the people who make racing roar. This week we reach beyond limits, beyond expectations, beyond gravity itself. Welcome to the PRI show. Let's show the universe what racing is made of.
And with an hour to go before the fifth running of the PRI Hoosier 500, it's time for us to show what the sim racing world is all about, and a great prize pool put together, all with the support of the great partners here at the PRI Hoosier 500. The race purse totals up to just over $1,000, but included in all of that, so much physical memorabilia, Lewis, that these winners will take and savor if they come out on top. Our race winner, a Fair Oaks Farms milk bottle, of course, signifying the win, and of course their choice of milk once they kiss the yard of bricks, and then a whole suite of other prize packages as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's great to be in an event where there is money on the line. That's always an amazing thing for the drivers to be fighting for. But some of the things that aren't for a financial benefit, the things that are actual tangible objects that you can win, that always, for a driver to me, always meant way more than the money itself, because that's something which you always have a reminder of the race, of your winning. And then, like I say, it's always a positive thing. What milk though would you go for, Arjun? That's always the big question.
You know, I'm a chocolate milk fan here.
You're a chalky milk guy. You're a chocolate milk guy.
Boo!
Well,
at least it's not orange juice.
Well, there was one great social media
crazy, yeah.
social media post put out by our Hoosier 500 team, so go and check out on social media what milk choices our drivers have elected for. Gary, what would you pick?
I'm going old school. I didn't want to do what Brendan did. I'm going to go buttermilk. That's what Louis Meyer did for the first time when he got into victory lane, or the third time, but when he had introduced the tradition, that third win in 1936, he went with buttermilk, and that's what I would go with. I don't think I'd ever win it again, so might as well make it buttermilk.
Might as well enjoy it, and of course, such a memorable moment. You know, I was going through the history books building up to this Hoosier 500, and not just the Hoosier 500 history books, Gary, but the iRacing Indy 500 history books, because this is a race that traditionally is hard to win on multiple occasions. Hugo Olsen's won this Hoosier 500 twice. Phil Kraus, our defending winner, though, I think he's the man who everyone is looking to topple.
Well, he is the defending series champion, or actually not the series champion, but the defending race champion. He has the #1, and yeah, he's the guy on the top of the mountain right now. But Robert's on the pole, Robert Molechka, and this is a big box that he has not checked in his sim racing career. Same thing with Adam Blocker. We know that if PK gets up to the front, he's pretty tough to beat, but there's a lot of motivation for his Power Slide teammates that need this last checkbox to kind of make all of the crown jewels of the community IndyCar races complete.
Absolutely. This is the race as well that did kickstart Power Slide's sort of dominance in the Indy 500s. It was back in 2020 when Olsen won for the first time, when they really started to pick up momentum. It wasn't until 2024 when the Powerslide Motorsports team won the iRacing Indy 500 for the first time, and what has now become known as the Great Wall of Powerslide has locked out the front 2 rows, and we'll dive in through driver introductions in a few moments' time. I was really hoping we were going to get a chance to catch up with the front row, which includes, of course, last year's defending race winner, and of course the pole sitter, who was able to extract the maximum from qualifying. And Lewis, let's quickly touch on qualifying, because qualifying for the Indy 500 is without a doubt, in my mind, the single scariest thing across of global motorsports. Don't take my word, take someone like a Scott Dixon, like a Catherine Legg. The risk versus reward ratio is remarkable, and that's why with just 3 attempts to go out there and set your fastest 4-lap attempts, qualifying weekend was pressure-filled for many.
Yeah, it's tremendously difficult. I mean, you've spoke about it quite a few times, a lot of broadcasts where it is really tough to get that 4-lap run in, because it needs to be perfect. There is a lot of laps in sim racing and in motorsport where you can set a pole lap, but then there's always something where you're like, oh, well, that was I got a little bit wide from that apex. You know, maybe I could have brought that back. And very few laps are perfect. If you want to be on pole here, or to be fair, even on the front row, you have to be pretty perfect. There is very, very little margin for error, and the speed is so incredibly high that when something does go wrong, obviously it goes wrong very, very quickly. I've had my fair share of doing the 4-lap stints, not too many, but I've qualified a few times. It is brutal, and probably one of the most annoying experiences I've ever had in sim racing, because you always know that there's a little bit more out there, and the little bit that you're talking about is, you know, not tenths of a second like what it is everywhere else. It's hundreds, it's thousands, and that all builds up.
Well, let's quickly catch up with some of the front row starters. I tell you what, Lewis, you're familiar with Phil Kraus. Going back to his days on R Factor 2, you'll catch up with our defending race winner, starting in 3rd on the front row.
Indeed, Phil Kraus in the comms booth, hi for starters, and obviously good luck for the race up ahead. But you started on the front row, you're coming into it with the number 1. What are your expectations from this evening? Surely you got to go out there and win, but I mean, 500 miles is a long way to start thinking ahead.
Yeah, it's about 3 hours to be thinking ahead. A lot of variables I don't really know about so far, so number 1 goal for probably about the first 400 miles, keep the nose clean, have a car, and see where we can go from there.
Obviously, there's been some big talk of the changes to the car in the week between qualifying and now coming into the race. How has that been for you? Obviously, a complete change up with the hybrid system and stuff.
It's just a lot of buttons to press over the lap comparatively. So that's been the main adjustment. It'll definitely change things a little bit for the racing, but it's not going to be as huge as I guess I thought it might have been. Sometimes it's just an annoyance, to be honest. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see some incidents on pit entry, just with how the hybrid affects the brake bias and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the main things. One of the things that we talk about, especially over the first 160, 170 laps around here, when everyone's getting themselves in position later on in the race. It's where are the main danger points. Obviously, we always know that restarts are incredibly dangerous, but it seems as though pit entry is going to be even more dangerous than it's ever been. Is that kind of what you're expecting, or is there somewhere else maybe you've got an eye on, maybe something to avoid?
No, I definitely agree with what you're saying there, Lewis. Pit entry is it's always a struggle here at Indianapolis, but with the hybrid, it's just that little bit harder, because if, for example, you enter the pits with, like, let's just put a number out there, you have 30% hybrid, and you go to enter the pits about, like, 80% of the way on your pit entry, all of a sudden your brake bias is going to shift, like, a few percent to the front, and you probably snag a tire, speed by a few mile an hour, and boom, race over.
Well, good luck. Cheers, Phil.
Yep, cheers.
Let's move on to his teammate, the rookie, and the high-started rookie in the 2025 PRI Hoosier 500, Alexander Russell, standing by with Gary Godso.
Alexander Russell, our version of Robert Schwartzman, not starting from the pole, oh so close to doing that, but hoping to have a better 500 than Robert Schwartzman did. first things first, getting through the 3 wide starts, and then when does the gloves come off? I know there's going to be a lot of cooperation with teammates throughout much of the race, but at some point, you're going to be racing for yourself.
Well, I mean, of course, it's just going to be getting there first, but I think depending on how all our power slide cars stack up, if we're all there, it'll probably be closer to the end of the race. If not, I want to be leading as much as I can after that last stop if I want to have a chance to win it.
Well, good luck, Robert. On the front row with a 4-lap average of 228.4902. Best of luck, and we'll see you at the end of this thing.
Thank you so much, Gary.
And quick chance to catch up with them. Don't see Rob Malechka, so our pole sitter apparently too focused on dialing himself up. So let's start to work our way through driver introductions and start from the tail end of the field where there has been a slight shift. Henry Bennett, unfortunately, not feeling medically fit to race, and so he's withdrawn this morning from the 27th starting position. It will promote Noah Carmichael in to the field. He's got lots of pressure on his shoulders on short notice, but he'll line up alongside of Chris Fowler in the 40 Racewear SRT DonateLife.net number 43, Lucas Lodato in the World Sim Racing Esports number 30, while Jacob Bradley is going to move forward up to row 10 in the Sim Racing Club at Purdue Machine. Gary, a row of rookies at the tail end of the field, but with some work to do, stay out of trouble, and there's still a chance for a decent finish.
Yeah, Chris Fowler has a ton of experience in this car, especially at the Lionheart level, which was a very high-level league when it was running. Do not sleep on him, and I am always shocked at these sim racers from Purdue, what they were able to come with up with on their own pace to get into this field. What do they got for the under the hood now for the race? We'll see, but this is there's some experience here in this row, but there's also a lot of inexperience with Bradley, so I expect to see Fowler do well. And also the keynote here, we've never had a real winner come from 33rd spot in the Indy 500 for real to ever win. The closest has been Tom Sneva in 1980 and, of course, Scott Goodyear in 1992. So it would be a big modern miracle, even on a virtual sense, for one of these guys to come out with a dub here today.
Let's run our way down through row 10, where Brian Carey, one of the oldest starters in the PRI Hoosier 500. It's his third start alongside of Matt Holliber, also making his third start, although missing the action in 2024. Another rookie for Nick Ludgke in 28th position, representing the Sim Racing Club at Purdue. And these are some of the drivers, Lewis, that had to put in a run at the final stages of qualifying. Brian Carey was the final driver on qualifying weekend to lock himself into the field.
You can imagine what the pressure must be like when you're on those last laps of the session. You're thinking, is this going to be the run that gets me in, or am I going to have nothing to do next weekend? And thankfully, obviously, you managed to get through that run. I'm sure it's an extreme sigh of relief across the line to actually get in. Starting from row 10, obviously there's 27 cars ahead of this row. It is a long way up towards that number one position. For a lot of these drivers, though, yes, sure, they're all aiming for the victory. That's what they'd love to do. But being realistic, you'd sit there and go, I'd be really happy with the top 10, especially from back here. And after 3 hours of racing, I mean, look, you'll take it.
Brian Carey, the lowest starting of the Powerslide Motorsports drivers. Matt Holliber, the first of two satellite racing entries. Up to row 9, where, as mentioned, Henry Bennett medical issue will see him not take to the start. Nick Ludgke promoted to the outside of row 9, but Ricky Paz in the Blue Bolt Votive Racing 999 is alongside of Carl Clenworth in the Votive Racing League Advanced.gg Rogue Racing number 10. And Gary, these are a couple of drivers you're plenty familiar with. I think they are hungry to fight their way forward in their first PRI Hoosier 500s.
Let's not sleep on Clindy in the Pink Panther. He was one of 2 drivers in May for the fixed Indy 500 to compete and complete every single lap in all 4 races. 200 laps a race, 4 races, 800 laps. He was able to complete one of 2 out of the thousands of people that signed up to participate. And he won 2 of those races coming from top split. So Clindy, let's not sleep on him. Now, this is an open setup race for him. He has experience with the hybrid. He won a 400-mile race here on Wednesday in the hybrid. Don't sleep on him.
Hybrid's a major talking point as all these drivers try to get to grips with it. Casey Pavlones in the number 59 Votive Racing, named Bessie, starts alongside of Ty Keeler in the P1 Broadcasting Techtopia of Rogue Racing number 8, while Dylan Freckleton, who's qualified for all 5 of the PRI Hoosier 500s, did not start though in 2019. His best finish, a 17th finish. We'll see what he can do, and he is just one of 2 non-Americans, Lewis, so far through our starting grid. The starting grid dominated by the American runners in 2025.
Yeah, which, I mean, look, it's an American event, but it is an international event. We do obviously have plenty of international drivers that try and participate here at the Brickyard. And you know me, I'm a Brit, so I'm biased. I look out for the Indian flag wherever I see it. So, Dylan Freckleton, I'm on your side. Let's work your way through the order, yeah? Better than 17th.
He's got flames on the side, so we'll keep an eye out for that. Rashad Craig, Blaze Andrich, but Seb Alexander on the outside in the Indy Alliance Racing number 49. Blaze Alexander in the ex-Blazer VZ Rogue Racing 19. We'll talk about that car name in the 500 miles, I'm sure, while Rashad Craig, a couple of accidents in the last couple of years, hoping to stay out of trouble in that Indy Alliance Racing machine. And Gary, the Indy Alliance Racing, 2 machines on row number 7, pinning all their hopes on Craig Alexander as they try to fight forward.
This is a technical alliance row, really. Craig, Andrich, and Alexander are all they're all in a technical alliance. Both their teams, Rogue Racing, Indy Alliance, and Satellite Racing. They're all, they call it the Alliance. Do not sleep on this row at all. Rashad Craig, former Open Series champion on the official iRacing side of things in Season 3. Seb Alexander, reigning and defending Indy Oval Series champion right now before we get to the next season. And Blaze Andrich just missed making the cut to the Pro Series a week or so ago.
And that was a tightly contested Indy Next qualifying series. Seb Alexander, the only Swedish runner outside of 2-time winner Hugo Olsen in the field. The Swedes do love a good run around Indianapolis. Row 6, you find the hyperstar Brendan Lichtenberg, who's got the most starts in the iRacing Indy 500 broadcast splits in the Team I5G number 25. Andrew Marquez in the FK Sim Racing Solutions MadWorks 63 is to the middle of AJ Musselman in the Performance Racing Industries AJM Consulting Independent number 83, and that is something we will talk about plenty. We just talked about alliances, Lewis. AJ Musselman running by himself has got no help dialing in that car, both for qualifying and for race day.
Yeah, we've seen a few drivers on this starting grid that are independents, and I'm sure there'll be there is a few out there, and even if they are a part of teams, sometimes you like to run your own race. I think the alliances and stuff really help on the build-up, especially with getting used to the brand new hybrid system. That's where a lot of that time you kind of have to figure that out yourself. But through the race, yes, it is very helpful, but sometimes late on in the race, it can slightly go against you if you have a large team of a lot of drivers, because that's when egos start to rise to the fore. And sometimes you can trip up over each other by trying to be too nice or trying to get on after it and try and win. And you know, like I say, sometimes papaya rules aren't really a thing here. That's fine.
Might need to swap papaya rules for power slide rules today and see what happens in the closing stages. Matt Taylor, quite surprising to see. He's a rookie technically in the PRI Hoosier 500 in the MadWorks 72. Plenty of experience in the Lionheart IndyCar series for him. He's alongside of the 2022 iRacing Indy 500 winner Christian Steele in one of just a handful of Team I5G machines, just his second start after finishing 28th in 2024. While rookie Ryan Campbell in the Campbell Special Rogue Racing 189 is the second highest placed rookie in the field, Gary, and that is a remarkable stat, especially to be quicker than a previous event winner in the iRacing Indy 500.
Yeah, he turned the second fastest lap in qualifications during the Saturday and Sunday time trials. So let's not sleep on Ryan. He works for Dale Coyne Racing. He changed tires last year for Rena's VK. So yeah, maybe he got a little inside baseball. We don't know. But let's not sleep on him. Definitely a lot of pace. Christian Steele, I5G, ton of experience here at the track. And Matt Taylor, rookie in name only, much like Juan Pablo Montoya in 2000, or even when Elio Castroneves won his first Indy 500. They had a lot of experience in other series, but it just wasn't at this particular race when they showed up. and Taylor, with a lot of experience at the Lionheart level. I don't expect to see anything different coming from the mid-pack here to see him up front today. Taylor on the outside of that row.
And so we work our way in towards the top 10. Chad Simpson, a stalwart of iRacing Indy 500s, but again, surprising that he's only making his second PRI Hoosier 500 start. He's alongside of Adam Blocker, who's recently made his way to Chip Ganassi Racing as an Indy Next race engineer. This is his 5th start, 2nd in 2 previous events, 3rd last year, never lower than 5th. While the 2018 iRacing Indy 500 winner Joshua Chin, also making his 5th start, lines up in 10th, hoping to go better than 4th in 2024, Lewis.
Yeah, and obviously, importantly, we're starting to see a few of those power slide cars, and this is kind of getting the understanding as to how strong they have been in qualifying, how strong they've been in the build-up to this event. How strong will they be over the 500-mile race? That's going to be a question. We'll find out when we get racing in about 40 minutes' time, but look, yes, sure, the cars, the setup, that's all done the work now. It's going to be all about drivers. It's all going to be about reaction on strategy. It's all going to be about keeping that nose clean, as we heard from Phil Krause earlier on.
And so, let's make our way forward to more of those power slide teammates. The front 3 rows, Alexis Newsom, the Lionheart Speedway champion in the Team i5G Demerit Engines, number 33, has got Jeff Drake in the 420 Majors Garage Powerslide Motorsports machine sandwiched in the middle, while Jacob Oster in that Team i5G, number 16, a DNF in 2024, but came so close to an iRacing Indy 500 win in 2022. And I think it's only fair that we announce that Gary Jacob is participating in his last race as a Team i5G member. You can only assume the extra motivation he will take from that as he tries to grab his first win here at the Brickyard.
Wow, I didn't even know that. Well, on top of that, he's eligible for a $100 cash bonus if he wins today by virtue of winning the P1 600 back in June. But Alexis Newsom's one of my picks. Do not sleep on Alexis at all. Remember, when she won this race back in the Lionheart Series, she did this race one less stop than everyone else. If anyone that could economize the most back in the pack, I'm not going to look past Alexis at all.
She was the other one that almost came close in 2022 as well, so definitely keep an eye out for her. Now, it's up to the Great Wall of Power Slide. Hugo Olsen starts on the outside of row number 2, but the 2-time PRI Hoosier 500 winner is back and maybe with a vengeance in the Yellow Submarine Power Slide Motorsports 390. Alex van der Sant starts in the middle of row number 2 after a couple of DNFs for him in the last couple of starts, while Jason Brophy, 2-time winner now of the was it the Veterans 100 pit stop competition, one of the 2 yesterday in our Shakedown Saturday. He makes his 3rd start, lines up on the inside in the Team Hype with Powerslide Motorsports number 88. And this is where, like you said just before, Lewis, the egos will start to come to the forefront, and these teammates have got to figure out how they play ball.
Yeah, but the thing is, they've been teammates for a fair while now. They've all got along with each other for a while. They know the rules of engagement, at least over the opening portion of this race. The thing is, when you've locked out the front couple of rows, when you've obviously got a few cars up inside that top 10 as well, including a couple behind you, like Joshua Chin and stuff, I think everyone else, the i5G, satellites, etc., all of them will be keeping a very close eye on Power Slide and thinking, right, let's get aggressive and let's try and work their way through. But also, you got to remember that this great qualifying has come in effectively a slightly different car as well.
Slightly different, although what I will say from what I've been hearing is setups haven't been had to change too much. It's been about adjusting to the slight balance shift of the car, and who better to understand those balance shifts than our front row with so much experience between the 3 of them. 2nd in the iRacing Indy Pro Series in 2024, and the defending iRacing Indy 500 winner, the defending PRI Hoosier 500 winner, it's Phil Krause in the number 1, representing Team Hype with Powerslide Motorsports that lines up on the outside of row 3, Alex Russell, who flew the flag for Tony Kanaan in the 2025 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. The rookie lines up in the middle in the number 27, while it's the 91. The Powerslide Motorsports with Team Hype, driven by Rob Malechka, the double iRacing Indy 500 champ in 2024, that will lead us to green. And Gary, this is a optimal chance for him to control the tempo in those first stints of the race.
Yeah, and what we want to see is a good tempo and also getting to those first green flag pit stops. But of the 108 runnings of the Indy 500, actually the 109 as of this year, 46 wins have all come from the front row. 21 from pole, 11 from the middle, 14 from the outside. Statistically, these guys already, well, we know they got a good shot based upon their merit, but statistically from where they start, they got the best shot of them all.
And there is a live look-in as the drivers make their way out onto track. Final moments of practice about to get underway. Today's Countdown to Green is brought to you by Visitor Watch Co. Visitor Watch Co. crafts truly original art-driven timepieces from a blank page, offbeat, distinctive, and instantly familiar. Explore the collection at visitorwatchco.com. 35 minutes left to go. The countdown continues to tick away. Our pre-race ceremonies come up next here, live on RaceSpot TV. Today's coverage of the 2025 PRI Hoosier 500 is brought to you by the performance racing industry. Since 1986, performance racing industry has been the motorsports industry's trusted source for trends, new products, merchandising ideas, and business strategy. With the world's premier racing trade show and an award-winning monthly magazine, PRI keeps the global racing community on the cutting edge. Visit performanceracing.com. Our Junior Kanky Party alongside of Lewis McLeod and Gary Godso as we inch our way closer to the start of our 500 miles of racing and towards our pre-race ceremonies. One final opportunity right now, Lewis, for the drivers to head out onto track and get a final sense for how their cars are dialed in for the race ahead.
Yeah, of course, the main thing from this is just read the conditions, see what they're like out there, see what the wind's like, see what the temperature's like. Realistically, none of these drivers will be particularly shocked by any of that information, but it's just one of the ones, get your eye in. No one's really learning anything major from this session. They're just having a breather, they're getting into the rhythm, they're getting into the mindset, and they're just trying to relax a little bit out there as best you can.
That was one of the talking points, Gary. Like Lewis mentioned, the drivers were all aware of what the conditions were likely to be. And look at that track temperature right now, 132 Fahrenheit. The expectation is that it is going to drop by the time we get into our race start. If not, the Firestone tires underneath our drivers will be screaming out in agony.
I think what we're seeing here is a lot of nervous fiddly, just wanting to get out there and kind of do something while waiting for the green flag. In real Indy 500 the procedure, there is no morning warm-up. The last time these guys get in the car for the real Indy 500 is the Friday before, which is Carburation Day. We did that yesterday in a virtual sense, but in the real world, you don't see a morning morning warm-up like this, and I think just a lot out there, a lot of nervous energy going on. They're not going to learn much at 132 degrees.
I feel like if the drivers in the real world were given the opportunity to go out there and practice without risk of wrecking their race cars, they may be a bit more likely to take it up, but who knows. That's a look at the famed yard of bricks that, of course, the drag race to the checkered flag could end up seeing settle this race. Already we've talked, though, about the difficulties of getting in and out of pit lane, that hybrid system adding new nuances that these drivers have got to come to grips with. Lewis, at the end of the day, an Indy 500 is something that a lot of these drivers have done time and time again, though, so it's been about refining the little margins rather than swinging for big speed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, it's not as if we're in a completely brand new car here racing some alien track we've never seen before. We've seen this circuit a lot. We've seen this car a lot. The drivers are well versed with how to get around. And like you say, the setup changes that they've had to make since the hybrid system's been implemented haven't been insanely complicated. They've been able to work that out and get to the balance of it. You know, I'm sure the weight's shifted around a little bit and such. The thing is, though, it's those subtle differences that can actually make a difference when you're in the race, especially when you're on, you know, lap 128, right? You're in the middle of the race somewhere, nothing's really happening. You've survived the opening part. You've maybe made a pit stop. You're getting ready for the end of the race, but you may be getting a little bit complacent. That's when these subtle differences of the car can really bite you. You have to really concentrate at every moment of this race, all 3 hours of it, and especially coming down into pit lane. That is where everything's going to be tremendously difficult, because it is pretty much the most different it is anywhere else on the circuit.
Well, as the drivers get their final preparations under their belt, it's time for us to delve into our pre-race ceremonies. One of the things that makes this great race in May so special, falling on Memorial Day weekend, is all the things that go around it. Let's welcome Neil Hinders, community pastor at Connection Point, to give us today's invocation.
You know that feeling right before this countdown hits 0, wheel in hand, eyes locked, heart pumping like a real pit lane. Let's anchor that moment. God, we pause before this online sim race kicks off. We're grateful for the tech that lets us race from various locations, yet still feel the rush like we're sitting in a real cockpit. Thanks for the friendships, the banter, and the thrill that keeps guys our age coming back for just one more lap. We ask for focus, sharp minds, and quick reactions. We ask for sportsmanship, the kind that makes this community worth being a part of. And we ask for joy, even in a digital world that somehow still brings out the competition in all of us. Protect our connections, our gear, our sanity, and help us enjoy every turn, draft, and late break attempt. When the virtual checkered flag drops, may we walk away laughing, grateful, and satisfied in what we accomplished today. Amen.
Let's please welcome the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard, to the pre-show for the PRI Hoosier 500.
That's us. Attention. Stand by. Sequence. Ready! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ready! Aim! Push! Ready! Aim! Push! Ready! Aim! Push! Ready! Reset! Arms! 1, 2, 3, up.
Please welcome the U.S. Navy Band for today's playing of taps. just one of many things that makes the Indy 500 so great, the ceremonies that surround it. And Gary, I know that as a lifelong fan of the event, it must be pretty cool for you to see it all replicated here in the virtual world for the PRI Hoosier 500.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. The moments leading up to the green flag for the Indianapolis 500 for real, you're on your feet the whole time. And really, the emotions are high. You're up near, you're patriotic. You're ready for this race to begin. You're actually almost ready to shed a tear. But also being from Indiana and Indianapolis, this all just hits harder. This might be a simulation, but it sure feels real to a lot of us.
And again, so grateful that the PRI team have come on board to support this event and everything that it does mean to, like you say, those that live and breathe this great event day in and day out. The month of May is truly special, and we got plenty more to come. Playing of the national anthem will welcome Clayton Anderson, and of course, who is not waiting for the moment that we will break out back home again in Indiana, grid up our cars, and begin the 3-wide starting formation for the 200 laps of racing that lie ahead of us. I think we're going to get the chance to catch up with one more of our drivers, and one driver who had plenty of stress, I have no doubt. Let's catch up with Chris Fowler, the 33rd qualifier for the PRI Hoosier 500. He's with Gary.
Hey, Chris Fowler, we got pulled you into the booth. Well, I guess you got promoted, was starting 33rd. Now you're starting 32nd. One position better, but a lot of experience. And how do you plan to use that experience to work your way forward? Will you have time to be patient, or do you got to go?
I'll be a little bit patient, see how it goes in the first half, first little bit. Kind of just ride. It's really hard to pass in that line of traffic. So we're just going to take it easy for a little bit and see how, once the pit stop gets going, we'll get a little separation, then we can make a lot of passes then. But hey, start one spot better, so that's start, so I'll take it.
Well, that's Chris Fowler, promoted to 32nd this morning with the retirement of Henry Bennett due to injury. And we'll be starting the middle of the row 11 now instead of the outside. Best of luck, and long race to go. And it's been proven with Scott Goodyear, you can get there.
Has to just stay out of trouble at the end of the day. And the lucky recipient of the call-up is Noah Carmichael, who we take a look at now heading out onto track in the number 86, flying the flag for East Coast Autosport. No pressure on his shoulders to quickly dial himself into the situation and get up to speed with 23 minutes left to go on our countdown to green. Didn't get the chance to catch up to Rob Malechka in the early stages of this pre-show like we were hoping to, so I've sent him a message to see if he'll join us later. Also hoping to have a chat with Hugo Olsen, because, Lewis, it would be very interesting to get his perspective on what it took for him to win this race back-to-back in 2020 and 2022.
Yeah, and you mentioned it earlier on in the broadcast, Arjuna, that to win this race more than once is tremendously difficult because, for one, we've got 33 cars out there, and at the very least, half of them have the full capability of winning this race completely outright, not just through an awkward caution or something at a wrong time and maybe lucking into it. They all have the pace to win it at very least half field. So to be able to win it twice is extremely impressive, and there's some form of approach and understanding there where you know about being in the right place at the right time. And that's mostly what it is. All the drivers all know that. Basically, you've got to keep out of trouble for 195 laps, and then finally you can go for it. It's basically a long cruise home before you get onto that final stretch and then you put your foot down.
Well, the thing about Hugo that I always find so interesting as well is that he's relatively young, still in school, competes as an athlete, which always I find remarkable. You take a look at him sitting in VR. He's also got a very basic setup. Gary, this idea that you need to spend, lots of money on direct drive wheelbases and load cell pedals, well, I'm pretty sure that's Hugo using a Logitech G27 and still being one of the fastest out on track.
back in real IndyCar racing, it was always Team Penske and Target Chip Ganassi and Patrick Racing back in the day, and McLaren nowadays. I mean, the more money you could pour into your program, the better you do. Here, if you're watching from home and you're like, I want to do this, do I need to have a high-end wheel? Do I need to have a high-end set of pedals? No. If you have good driving talent and you could master the art, you too can get in with an introductory wheel and be a two-time open wheels or Hoosier 500 champion.
Well, as they continue to practice, I was watching Hugo trying to figure out what buttons he wants to press. Weight jacker, ARB, hybrid, there's so much going on. Let's catch up with our pole sitter, the 2024 iRacing Indy 500 double champ, Rob Milechka, who joins us now. And Rob, you have the best view in the house, but your teammates sit behind you. We've dubbed it the Great Wall of Power Slide. What are you expecting as we get set to go today?
Survive turn one. We know the weather's changed on us a bit, so I know a lot of guys don't really know exactly what to expect, but I think at least as for our team, the Great Wall of Power Slide, as you said, we put in some laps here, hopefully the correct weather, and we just gotta survive that first half of the race. I think a lot of our teammates are gonna be saving fuel, while I'm assuming Phil and I will be pushing. I probably split the strategy, so we'll see how hard it is to pass once we catch traffic, and if it goes green all the way, that will probably decide the race.
So Phil talked to us about the difficulty of getting in and out of pit lane with the hybrid, but I want to ask about swap drafting with this hybrid, because if you and one of your teammates is going to be at the front pushing that pace, that's something that surely you guys have tested and tried to optimize.
Yeah, we have. It's been really interesting kind of finding what is the optimal strategy with the hybrid, right? Because, you would think kind of wanting to carry as much speed as you can through the corners is great, deploying probably halfway down the straightaway, but, what we've been finding is that's actually way worse, not only for speed, but also for tire life. It's actually a significant jump in tire wear. So, you'll see a lot of guys probably deploying right out of the corner, if not halfway through the last corner before they get onto it straight, and hopefully building the run, and then once you're into the corner, you're starting to scrub speed. So I'm sure it will change depending on where you're at on track, but that's the plan up front, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, best of luck, Rob. We'll let you get back to it and dial in that car in the final 20 minutes before we go green.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.
It does sound as though he may have just woken up, potentially. Slightly groggy is the interpretation I got there. But let's continue with our pre-race ceremonies. It's now time to welcome Clayton Anderson, country music recording artist, for today's performance of the Star Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
There have been some cool flyovers over the year. We combined two sim worlds, flight and racing sims. And live from the Microsoft Flight Sim, it is the US Air Force B-2 Spirit stealth bomber performing today's flyover at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I will be honest, Gary, I'd love this in the real world next year. If anyone's listening from Doug Bowles, just give the US Air Force a call, please.
And yes, we've had the stealth bomber do the overfly of the speedway before for the 500. The Spirit of Indiana is actually one of the handful of stealth bombers that is still left in service, and it has made the flyover back in, I believe, in 2003. And also, the speedway is so close to the airport that all he needed to do was make a right turn, and he would have been lined up for final approach.
Oh, well, it's a great view flying in as well if you are lucky enough to get the weather on your side, which it does not seem as though maybe is the case this weekend up north. Let's drag in our two-time PRI Hoosier 500 race winner, Hugo Olsen, and catch up with him. He's standing by with Lewis McLeod.
Yeah, indeed. We've been talking about you a fair amount, obviously, on the build-up to this. You've won this race twice. What's it going to take to do it a third time this evening? You've got a lot of teammates around you.
Oh, hello. Sorry, I just got the headset working.
So as I said, for once we can hear you, don't worry. What's it going to take for you to win this race for a third time, Hugo?
I think you just have to stay up there in the top 5 to be there at the last couple of 2 stints, and then for the last stint you really need to get into the top 3, because I think it will be quite hard to move up in the pack after 4th in line or so.
You got a lot of teammates around you. What are the rules of engagement between you lot this evening? How's that all going to work? Are you all going to work together, or are you kind of? Is there a rule where we'll work together until there's 10 laps to go, and then we'll go on the attack and see who can win it?
We'll see what happens. In the beginning, we'll play teammates, and then at some point, that's out the door, and you just have to go for it.
Well, best of luck. See if you can become a 3-time champion by the end of the night.
Thank you.
Quick chat there with Hugo Olsen, who has also grabbed pole position in this race. If you go back to 2024, although no pole sitter has ever converted into a victory in the PRI Hoosier 500, could that be about to change? We are minutes away from back home again in Indiana, telling the drivers to grid up and get ready for the 3-wide flying start. That will signify the first of our 200 laps of racing action. And maybe importantly here, Gary, there are some drivers doing final pit stop practice out on track.
You can never get too much green flag pit stop practice. And what you've seen traditionally this race, a lot of green flag racing. I'm expecting at least, and maybe I could be wrong, maybe we'll see this hybrid really put a lot of cautions early, but I expect to see at least 2, maybe 3 green flag pit stops this race. And they got to practice those things, because that's the best place for them to make up the most time on the racetrack.
You talk about cautions. This is a race in which we've had as few as a handful of cautions, but we do know sometimes when you get new additions and new changes to the car just before a big race like this, lots more work being done by the teams and drivers sometimes leads to a lot more chaos. But having someone on the wall is important in that situation, Lewis. When a caution comes out, knowing whether to pit or not. And going back to the power slide point for a second, they have so many drivers. They have told some of the teammates that aren't racing that, you know what, it might not actually be useful for you to sit with us in voice chat, because you've got to try and help out a third of the grid at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those ones where, too many cooks sometimes. The information always is to, where things are on a racetrack is always the same for everyone. Obviously, it depends on where you are and your nature to that. I think, if you're doing an Indy 500, if you're ever going to do one, whether it is, in a league, a series, whether it is the official one, I'd always want my own personal spotter, engineer, something like that. I've done race engineering for an Indy 500. It was back on our factory one years ago. I had, I think it was 9 cars I was engineering.
Wow.
That's no bueno. That's too much. We did have a 1, 2, 3. We don't talk about that.
You don't talk about that? I thought you'd be...
No, we don't talk about that.
Okay. Interesting.
No, we don't talk about it.
There's a story there. There's a story
no one's
there.
Happy. We had half the grid. So.
Okay. That somewhat helps. There is less than a minute to go in this warm-up session for the drivers, so a couple more times for them to cycle back around. Let's quickly try and take another peek at the weather, where it is still pegged at 132 Fahrenheit track temperature. I'll be hoping once they roll out there for the race itself, that starts to drop off quickly. If you're relatively new to an Indy 500, well, Gary, fuel mileage is relatively simple. 33 laps, that's pretty easy to do without much saving. Anything more, you've got to be actively lift and coasting around the lap.
You could do the old lift and coast as Brian Herta instructed Alexander Rossi to do in 2016. You also have the engine maps you could change in these cars. You can go anywhere between 1 and 5, which will be your green flag maps. Of course, they'll all be in 8 when they're under these pace laps coming up to the green flag. That's maximum stage save under yellow. But you can adjust. Certainly, some of these teams also probably have some different gearing in there that might also help them save, that economize where other teams can't. But a lot of staying in the draft and a lot of working the engine mappings.
Well, final moments of practice. It's time for us to welcome Jim Cornelison. It's time for those famous words, "We're back home again in Indiana."
Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still shining bright through the sycamores for me. The new moon sends all its fragrance from the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, then I long for my Indiana.
All right, teams, let's head to the grid. Drivers, to your cars.
We are ready to go racing. The countdown will continue to tick away, but let's take a look at the starting grid for the 2025 PRI Hoosier 500. And we talked about it in Countdown to Green. A slight change at the back. We'll see Noah Carmichael join Chris Fowler, Lucas Lodato on the tail end of the starting grid. Rookies trying to fight their way forward from the tail end of the pack. As you find your way forward to row 10, the first of our non-rookies, Brian Carey, makes his third start as our oldest competitor tries to stay out of trouble and survive the chaos. He's alongside of Matt Hollabo and Nick Lutschke. Keep an eye out for the Sim Racing Club at Purdue as they try and make a statement on home soil. Henry Bennett, unfortunately a medical issue, sees him drop out of contention, but Ricky Paz and Carl Clenworth in the Rogue Racing and Votive Racing machines will try and work together on row 9 to work their way forward, alongside the likes of Casey Pablones for Votive Racing, Ty Keeler for Rogue Racing, and Dylan Freckleton. A 5th qualifying effort for the independent driver, trying to beat his best effort of 17th all the way back in 2020. The first of the Indy Alliance Racing machines, Seb Alexander, is on row 7 with Blaze Andrich and Rashad Craig for company. An all Alliance row as they try and stay out of trouble and carve their way through the Great Wall of Power Slide at the front. Row 6 finds Brendan Lichtenberg, the first of the Team i5G machines, on the outside. Andrew Marquez and the FK Sim Solutions, Madwork 63 in the middle, and then AJ Musselman, the independent entry, trying to work his way forward from row 6. Matt Taylor, a rookie only in name, alongside of 2022 iRacing Indy 500 winner Christian Steele, while Ryan Campbell, second best of the rookies in the Campbell Special Rogue Racing 189. Just outside of the top 10 for Chad Simpson. In the number 42 Satellite Racing entry, Adam Blocker, who's finished second on this race a number of times, he lines up 11th with his teammate Joshua Chin, just inside of the top 10 in the 2018 Indy 500 winning entry. Alexis Newsom starts alongside of Jeff Drake and Jacob Oster, making his final appearance as a Team i5G driver. He will be looking to take the charge to the likes of two-time PRI Hoosier 500 winner Hugo Olsen in the yellow submarine. He's alongside of Alex van der Sant, who's never finished this race, while Jason Brophy looks to try and work with his teammates on the inside of row number 2. And then the fastest 3 when it mattered. The defending PRI Hoosier 500 winner Phil Kraus lines up in 3rd as he tries to go back-to-back iRacing Indy 500 winner and PRI Hoosier 500 winner. The rookie Alex Russell represented Tony Kanaan in the World of eNASCAR in 2025. He lines up in the middle of row number 2 with our pole sitter, Rob Malechka, the 2024 double iRacing Indy 500 champion, leading us to green in our 3-wide formation. It's a stacked field, that is for sure. Every time we return, the field gets even stronger. And what is happening right now is slowly we are going to build up the speed. And much like in the real world, Gary, form up 3 wide, increase that speed until we drop the green flag and go racing for 200 laps of action.
My palms are sweaty right now. I don't know about you guys, but 3 wide starts, not native to this sim. When we do the fixed and open Indy 500s in May, we do 2 wide starts. A lot of this is a NASCAR sim, and we kind of got IndyCar slid into it. I love to see iRacing implement 3 wide IndyCar starts. That is truly unique, mainly to the Indy 500, but it used to be unique to every IndyCar 500-mile race, part of the Triple Crown back in the day. But if you talk to real IndyCar drivers, they'll tell you that the 2 things in IndyCar racing are the most difficult. The 10 miles, 4 laps to qualify for the Indy 500, and the 3 wide start. These guys don't practice it a lot. If they're on a big team, I'm sure they have practiced it in some pit parties and everything. But this is going to be interesting because the racetrack is actually going to go from 50 feet. It's going to extend to 60 feet in the corners, but then back to 50 feet in the short chute. So they need to get back in line because they do not have a lot of room to play with, and they cannot go around this place at speed 3 wide.
No, and as they do begin that formation, our pace car is the Corvette GT3, being driven by Justin van der Marel, who also painted this wonderful car for us and has the honor of slowly building up that speed before we get underway. 3 wide also means, because it's not the norm, that the lap count shows us 203 laps to go. But don't worry, it's a full 500 miles of racing. Slight complexion, though, added to this first stint, Lewis, with some extra laps under the pace car, making the fuel numbers slightly different compared to the rest of the race.
Yeah, I mean, look, when the cars hit the real track and they build up, it's not like they roll out of pit lane, do a couple or do a formation lap, and then they're all 3 wide and off we go racing like what you do when you do the fixed and open Indy 500s that are official. I always feel it's a bit more right. You know, there's you've got to go out there. Obviously, as you said, they're in map 8 at the moment. They'll definitely not be using really any fuel around at this point, but still, it's something that will probably take a lap or so off of their opening stint. But obviously, there's a lot of slipstream to fight for in the opening stage as well, so they'll find their way into that in the early stages, provided they do the most important thing, Arjuna, and that is keeping out of trouble. 3 wide into T1, never easy.
I thought you were about to say, remember to take it out of map 8, because that is also one of the more important things to do on the race start. Let's take a quick look, by the way, at our faces on our driver wall, because not all of our drivers have sent us a webcam, but a decent number of them have. Different setups, but the same look of focus, Gary, on all of the drivers, as 33 now behind our pace car in the 3 wide formation, moments away from seeing the green.
These guys are braver than me. I got a face for radio. But right now, they look at them all. They are all focused in. They're like, don't bother me. Don't talk to me. I'm ready to do this thing. Look at the game face there with Jacob. I mean, Jacob looks like he's ready to kill somebody. So they have their game face on. They are ready to do this. Don't bother them now. They are locked in. We're getting ready to go green flag racing here real soon.
There's one of our Sim Racing Club at Purdue members. Love the range of faces that we're getting, although I do have to throw Rob Malechka under the bus, because he's not in Australia, turned 180 degrees upside down. No, instead he's 90 degrees rotated. There is our defending race winner, though, Phil Kraus, who I do feel has got the target on his back with the success that he showed in the iRacing IndyCar Pro Series, now with multiple 500-mile race successes as well. The field will be very much thinking of how they can deprive him of their chances of victories. One more lap before we go racing, and on the totally other side of things, imagine the contrast of emotions for someone like Noah Carmichael, Lewis, who now, on short notice, called up into the big show and has a chance to fight his way into a top 10 finish, and what a finish that would be.
Yeah, again, maybe yesterday or even earlier on this morning would have thought, well, you know, I'll watch it, I'll have it. Oh, I'm in it. Oh, well, fair enough. Obviously, you know, you would rather qualify your way in, but sometimes being 34th and getting your way in means there's no pressure on your shoulders. Win or lose, come through the field or don't, crash out on lap 1 or make it all the way to the checkered flag. It's time to go full send. You're absolutely right. You know what, I'm going to say it, I actually quite like starting towards the back of an Indy 500. I feel like you can really take a little bit of it. There's not as much pressure. You can take real bearings of what's going on.
I agree with you.
Well, there's a couple of predictions that I think it's only fitting we make as we pace behind the Corvette GT3 car for the final 2.5 miles. Let's start with over/under on cautions, or maybe just number of cautions. Ooh. And I'll go first. I'm going to say 3 cautions today. Gary, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go 3 or less. I think Blocker put up a 3.5 that he did in the Discord server. So I said less than that because I have a lot of faith in these guys.
2.
Oh, that's going off.
I've got a lot of faith in these guys.
That's going off the form book, if you ask me. What about race winners? And Lewis, I'll make you go first on this one.
We've never had a winner from pole position, and I like some storylines. I like some things to maybe change up. I think Robert Malechka might be able to sneak a victory from the pole.
Gary?
Adam Blocker.
Finally breaks the duck. Wow.
Yeah, I have faith in Adam. I have faith in him.
He's got some work to do relative to his teammates, you'd argue, starting outside of the top 10. But it's not a bad call as our pace car peels up its speed. And now we are moments away from seeing that green. Once more, a big thank you to Visitor Watch Company for supporting Countdown to Green and our pre-race ceremonies. All that is left is the action itself. 3 wide, 11 rows deep. The 33 fastest qualifiers in the iRacing IndyCar community, after a grueling weekend of qualifying, find themselves locked to the green flag. Rob Malechka, Phil Kraus, Alex Russell. It's the Great Wall of Power Slide that leads us to green for the 2025 PRI Hoosier 500. It's relatively chaotic in the tail end of the field as they all jostle for position for the teammates up front, as you'd expect. Single file it out between them all, Lewis, as they stretch their legs onto the back straight.
Yeah, everyone, basically finding their way into single file is what you want to expect. Like I say, a little bit chaotic in the background, but Alexander Russell's going to take over the race lead from Robert Malechka as they work their way down into 3. No major dramas there. I'm sure that will have been calculated and spoken about within the Power Slide group as to how they're going to play the opening stages of this race.
And so back onto the main straight, fly past the yard of bricks, and it's still Power Slide 1 through 6. Alexis Newsom has jumped up to 7th, and she'll be the first driver to start putting some moves on. A couple of spots gained by Brendan Lichtenberg as well, so Team I5G aggressive on the start.
Yeah, this is a great line of Power Slide. I told you they were a scripted start. They did. You saw right off the bat, row 2 got in the straight line. They weren't going to play going side by side going into turn 1. They were going to battle for the lead going back into turn 3. And we got Russell getting the shot on Malechka. And Russell said, and he told us, he called his shot. He was not going to waste time. He wanted the lead.
Well, swapping at the front to be expected as they work together, the teammates. And look at the energy as they work off of turn 4. Remember, so much manual control now with the ARB, weight jacker, and hybrid system all having to be factored in. Holliber's already gained 3 positions as we jump on board deep in the field and watch the dirty air impact down in 4th gear.
Yeah, I mean, we were riding on board with Hugo Olsen earlier on this broadcast, and he's got a T300, I believe, and the Alcantara you've got with it And I know from experience there's not actually that many buttons on that wheel. And that's one of the ones where I think it's actually quite an advantage with some of those wheels that have buttons for basically everything. It means you don't have to think so much. You don't have to play with the multifunction display in the bottom right of the screen. You can kind of just drive and press the buttons and kind of change things a little bit more naturally and keep your eyes up ahead. I think that might be a little bit of a factor throughout the day. Obviously, you've got to keep up with those changes all the way through the stint of the ARBs. All the drivers have been well aware with that, but just the certain differences and nuances of this running of the 500 versus all the previous ones we've had in this iteration of car.
Adam Blocker pops up high as he gets some clean air on the nose, challenging Chad Simpson. His teammate Jeff Drake has just been passed by Jacob Oster, who's now been able to link up with Alexis Newsom. And so, yes, it's power slide 1 through 6, but suddenly Team i5G have managed to sneak into 7th and 8th positions, and maybe some fuel mileage games to think of as Blocker looks down low and Chad Simpson rolls the speed, holds on to the spot.
You talked about i5G. If you're wondering at home what i5G stands for, it's the Indy 500 group. It's a group of drivers that specialize in doing races at this track. And Brendan, back in 14th spot, he started in 18th, but he's up 4 spots already. So it looks like i5G said, we're not going to waste a lot of time following the power slide guys. We want to move forward.
And going back to the weather, it was 132 Fahrenheit track temperature at the end of practice. Shave 16 Fahrenheit off, and the Firestone tires very grateful for that as well. Not expecting it to reach any higher than 120 through the race that we have in front of us. So up and down through the field, no one has really lost too much ground, and that's important because you can not win this race on lap number 1, but Lewis, you can definitely lose it.
Yeah, you definitely can. I did think that Joshua Chin, by the way, he's dropped back a little bit from the race start. He did start in 10th position. I saw him lose out of position to Ryan Campbell a bit earlier on. But and there was a big gap, by the way, between Campbell and the entire group ahead. But as Adam Blocker has been working his way up a little bit, Chad Simpson's not able to get through. Ryan Campbell has dragged the group back together again, has pulled Joshua Chin back into the fight. We expect that to ebb and flow quite a lot throughout the day, but it's just one of those ones to keep an eye on. Some of those drivers maybe not being super aggressive in the early stages and feeling that requirement to work their way forward.
Go back to the discussion about T300 and all the wheelbases and steering wheels these drivers are using. That Cosworth steering wheel replicated by iRacing, I mean, it's got about 10 individual buttons, 4 rotaries as well. So, I mean, if you're just running on a G27 with the 6 buttons that's got available to you, you have to get creative, that is for sure. And for anyone who enjoys sim racing hardware, Gary, there are people that make replica wheels just like this, if you've got the wallet to pay for it as well.
Indeed. You're right. You got to bring the money with it. I personally like the Gomez Sim Industry wheels. In fact, I got mine signed by Tony Kanaan at the Sim Gaming Expo, so I have a signature.
Yeah, those wheels, again, some of them have displays on them, just like the units in the cars do. Lots of innovation in the world of sim racing technology, that is for sure.
Don't have one yourself?
Sorry?
Don't have one yourself? Or are you too busy spending money on your golf sim these days?
I've still got a steering wheel. I just don't have a rig to put it on anymore. That's the problem.
Wise call. Invest the money elsewhere.
Yes, in enjoying my golf.
I'll be taking a visit over to your neck of the woods at some point just so I can have a go.
Well,
I think Arjuna and I have decided that we are better commentators than we are our drivers now.
Oh, same.
Don't worry, that's a low bar for me to hit in terms of my driving ability.
Mine too.
Both on the golf course and behind the wheel of a car. Now, what I've started to notice is the stretching of the gaps at the front of the field. We are still seeing Malechka and Russell able to swap, but extra weight from the hybrid, I think, Gary, that's maybe what we're seeing right now. And even with the slightly cooler track temperatures, I mean, look at this shot of the gaps through the top 15.
Yeah, we're 3/10 between the two leaders and 6/10 back to Kraus, another 8/10 back to Brophy, 4/10 back to Van de Sant, 9/10, almost a second back to Olsen. He needs to be worried about another 5/10 in that envelope. If he loses 5/10, he's out of the draft envelope. Newsom 6/10 back, and actually now Olsen falls about a second behind. So You're right. Normally, we see the entire top 10 all together, separated by about 2-3 tenths, but they are really strung out now.
Adam Blocker and Jeff Drake have swapped around. That's just teammates, though, so maybe deciding on that radio that one of them has a better chance of being able to push forward than the other. We look rearwards from Matt Taylor, who is feeling the heat from Rashad Craig and Ty Keeler in that number 8 Rogue Racing machine. But crucially, working the 10th lap of this race. Yet to see a caution, and we are 1/3 through the fuel window right now, Lewis. Have not seen much fall off in times at the front of the field just yet.
No, I think, again, like some of the gaps that you're seeing further up the order, for example, Hugo Olsen being off the back of Alexander Van der Sant, I do think that some of those are completely intentional, and the reason I say that is because there's quite a lot of this in the mid towards the rear of the pack where everyone's keeping basically under the rear wing of the car ahead. It is possible to keep that close. The important thing, though, is the reason why you don't necessarily want to do that so much is it will really work the front right, really put a lot of effort onto the load of that front right Firestone. So you kind of have to understand the situation and give yourself a bit of a gap. At the moment, Hugo Olsen's not feeling any pressure from Alexis Newsom, so can back off of the teammates, understanding that gap's always going to be about where you're wanting it to be, because it's your teammate up ahead, so you can be like, oh, hang on, you're getting a little bit too far ahead, drop back a second, we'll work our way up.
Taking a look at the onboard of Matt Taylor here. Look how compressed it is behind the wheel. It is very tight packaging, and there are some people who decide they buy old racing chassis and convert them into sim racing rigs. And the reason I bring this up, Gary, is I was scrolling Facebook Marketplace last night, as one does. And yes, you see where this was going. There is an IndyCar chassis available. If someone's in the North Carolina area, come and make a sim rig from it.
If that's in North Carolina, is that an old Penske chassis?
It's a good question. I mean, it could be Penske. There's a couple of other there's one other team down here, isn't there? I'm forgetting.
Brian Campbell, actually, I believe he has an old tub from Dale Coyne. I'm not sure what type of car it is. It might be, at the time, an Indy Lights car. But I think Ryan was telling me he has one, and he just needs to get the gear installed.
I mean, that sounds like a fun project to get that all wired up. Again,
my wife would kill me.
You've got to sell it. You've got to be a good salesman. It's all about the marketing, right, and how you present it. That's what makes it appealing.
Discretion, valor.
So, saw a comment in the PRI YouTube chat, by the way. The leaders are swapping. Yes, this is kind of what happens. The more interesting things are happening behind the leaders right now when there's movers and goers, because right now we've got Christian Steele dropping back a couple of positions. He's dropped to 18th. Meanwhile, Seb Alexander 5 spots to the good Lewis, up to 16th, really looking strong.
But then who's saving fuel, who's burning fuel? You mentioned that we were expecting the race leaders to switch around. There's a lot of lead changes for Alexander Russell and Robert Malechka. That's not a shock. Phil Kraus may join into the party and actually might take the lead before the end of these stints to kind of give some of the fuel numbers back to Malechka and Russell. It's behind all of that where some people are being aggressive on fuel and are working their way through the pack. Some people are trying to save it and are dropping back even further. But this is one of those ones, much like, you know, in the late phases of an endurance race where we start talking about how you have to start running your strategy backwards, when do you want to start making your final stop, everyone's quite spread out, and that means that cautions are less likely, which means that I think there's probably a few teams out there that are already thinking about when their last stop is, and so when their second to last stop is, and so when their third, fourth, fifth, and then, you know, where they are now.
Well, to one thing that you were saying about how spread out the field is, Lewis, our leaders have just exited out of turns 1 and 2 and running down the back straightaway. Nick Lutschke, who's now the last car on track, is just working through the short chute. So, Gary, he's almost half a lap back, and we aren't even one pit stop window into this race right now. So, traffic is going to become a factor pretty quickly at this rate, too.
Oh, that's pretty typical of the real Indy 500s. The more modern ones, you don't see it as well. But if you go back to watch Indy 500s from the 80s and early 90s, there was always kind of guys in the little in the back that were in year-old chassis, 2-year-old chassis, maybe an older engine, and they would get lapped pretty early into the race. Here, everybody is all theoretically in the same equipment. And they're so even right now. But at some point, they are going to experience that lap traffic, and that might change the outcome for the leaders that all of a sudden that haven't had to deal with dirty air for the early part of their run. They're going to be dealing with dirty air from lap traffic, but they're hoping what's going to happen is that they don't get there before they have to get to their first pit stops, which are about 10-ish laps from now.
Yes, especially remembering that we had those couple of extra pacing laps to factor into the cycle as well. Jacob Oster is under pressure, and Adam Blocker is going to slip up the inside relatively simply and make his way up to 8th position, as now 1.2 seconds the gap between Alexis Newsom and the chasing Blocker. Newsom still in a decent spot though, as the best non-power slide driver right now.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say Adam Blocker's pace at the moment is looking pretty solid, but able to comfortably get past a few of the cars here. Now sits about a second and a bit off of Alexis Newsom, who are riding on board with, who's been sat behind Hugo Olsen for the entirety of this race thus far. Again, just picking up those last bits of slipstream fuel mileage. We know Alexis is very good on fuel mileage, and I think just probably playing that slightly longer game again. I wouldn't be too surprised if Adam Blocker's able to close up here and maybe start getting in and amongst the top few. But if that does happen, that means that Adam Blocker is definitely not trying to save that much fuel at this moment.
Yeah, keep an
I don't
eye.
think he has time.
Yeah.
Keep an eye.
I don't think he has time. Yeah, I don't mean some research. I just wanted to add that I don't think really Adam has time. He's starting from further back than he's used to. I think he wants to get to the front, and I think Seb Alexander in 16th. He is definitely not saving. The afterburner is lit on him.
Yeah, he did a 41.465 last time by, and I was just going to say we'll keep an eye on lap times. Another 0.2 gained from Blocker on Newsom this time by. I guess the question really is Phil Kraus going to be able to save? And it's not just getting in and out of pit lane that's going to be important, but the access road leaving pit lane. Slight update compared to the last time we ran a Hoosier 500. Drivers have got to be a lot more aware of the limits that they take. Cannot wash up beyond the white lines as they have been allowed to do in the past. Going back to one of the storylines we touched on in Countdown to Green, Gary, Jacob Oster, his last race in the Team i5G colors. Well, I didn't say where he was going to go. Now, obviously, the Thrustmaster IndyCar Pro Series kicks off on January the 7th, I believe it is, so we're not far away from that.
I can guess.
Jacob Oster is joining up with the Powerslide Motorsport and Team Hype guys for the Pro Series kicking off in 26.
No real shock there to actually, I mean, and I don't mean that sarcastically. It just those guys in the when we do the over on P1, the iRacing IndyCar Oval Series, when typically Jacob and Robert are in the lineup, they work a lot together. So really not surprised that he's going to Powerside. It kind of seems like a perfect cultural fit to me. And again, remember, Oster has a $100 bonus on the line if he wins this race for winning P1 600 back in June.
Let's see if he can slowly pick the pace back up. Again, maybe there is some element of strategy that's playing out right now, but it's still very early days. If we do stay green from here, which there is by no means any guarantee of doing so, about another 2 hours of racing is expected. We jump on board with Seb Alexander as he continues to look to push his way forward through the field. Behind him, Christian Steele has just lost yet another position and is now down to 19th spot, Lewis.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened here with Christian Steele, who is someone who we know is very capable around the Brickyard. It's one of those ones, like, in my mind, I'd be getting like big warning signs of this. There's something else going on. It's not just pace that's the problem here. Maybe it is super aggressive fuel saving. Maybe it is a bit of damage.
Well, that technical blip doesn't help, but yeah, no, that was definitely a very close moment with the wall. Now, Lewis and I, we've commentated on enough sim racing where sometimes we think there's contact and there actually isn't. We will see if there is a notable drop-off on performance. Look how much time he's lost, though, just the Taikila in front of him, Gary. And that's the problem with any of the damage you can get to the side and underfloor of this car. It's painful because it just slows you down, a sitting duck in a straight line.
Yeah, now he's blinking out. So, yeah, it's always the damage unseen is the one that comes back and grabs us as drivers. One little smack of the wall, and then all of a sudden it damages the under tray. And then our car is down 1/10 of a second every single lap, and we haven't really lost any revs or anything. We're just foot to the floor trying to get this thing to go as fast as possible, and we're 1/10 of a lap slower every single time. I will say this for Christian, experienced driver. Doesn't mean that there's necessarily problems that he's going back in the pack. He could have his own strategy. We don't know this quite yet until the first round of pit stops start to unfold. So let's give him a little bit more credit until we get to the first round of pit stops, which we're expecting any time now, and see what happens and unfolds. Maybe he makes a setup change that allows him to do better in his second stint.
He's lost a lot of ground, though, and
he has.
You can never rely on cautions to get you back into things. That is, unfortunately, the reality of sim racing. The iRacing Indy 500 is one of the few special events that's unique and has cautions that mix things up, and so that is definitely different to the iRacing Daytona 24, which is only about a month away, the biggest sim race of the year. Our leaders, by the way, no longer swapping back and forth, and I think the tire wear is probably a huge factor in that one. Lewis Hugo Olsen starting to catch up with Alexander Van der Sant.
Yeah, I'd noticed this. The gap had gone from a second. Now it's down to only, well, I mean, it's less than a tenth now. I was keeping an eye on it, but it was getting under 4 tenths of a second. And certainly there is an opportunity for Hugo Olsen to start making that move. Slightly higher line there at 4. Will pick up the slipstream and should be able to get past Van der Sant on the race into T1 with relative ease. So the two-time champs now starting to make a little bit of progress, and I think that's just from playing the slightly longer game. I do think Alexis Newsom's in the same camp, although she's got now Adam Blocker starting to knock at the door. That gap's grown by a couple of tenths. You can see Adam Blocker in that distinctive blue car that currently runs just behind Alexis Newsom, 8th in line at the moment. I get the feeling there might be some moves coming in from Adam Blocker before the end of this stint.
Well, the gap to Oster is now a full 2 seconds, and I think that shows that we are seeing very different fuel mileage gains, as Rob Malechka is going to be the first to pit from the lead of the race, and that is early in the proceedings as well. But he was the one punching the hole in the air, Gary, so now he pays the piper.
And look who's coming in behind him, Christian Steele. But yeah, right at 30-31 laps. So he was the one punching the hole in the air. And that means that you have the most wind resistance and less fuel mileage. He comes down, hits his marks up on the air jacks. 4 single lugs hold these Firestones on. He'll get a new set of Firestones, full tank of racing fuel, down and away. And his first stop is complete. First of about 6 tonight.
9.7 seconds. That's right about on the money. Got to talk about the difficulty of getting in and out of your box just with limited downforce. We've talked about hybrid complications, but this is slightly different. Alex Russell, he pits. AJ Musselman, the independent, number 83, follows in as well. And so who's going to be able to go longest here? Lewis, at the end of the day, right? If some of these contenders have been minding their fuel and, like Gary mentioned earlier, sitting in a slightly more efficient fuel map, well, they may be able to extend and try and grab a slight overcut here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're out on the circuit. They're already at speed. Those coming out of the circuit, out of the pit lane, will be maybe in traffic, colder tyres, and getting up to speed, maybe a little bit slower, so you can get an overcut that way. Also, you know, Phil Krause at the moment, he knows he's got a guarantee of clean air at the moment. The longer he goes around, the more he's going to stay in that clean air, which is great. And also, the really important thing, mentioned there about 6 pit stops. Well, if you can go, you know, if you can sit on the fuel map, sit in the patience, sit in the slipstream, and get to about 167 to go, well, that means that you're in for a 5-stop race if everything remains green all the way until the checkered flag. That is unlikely, but it is one of those things. If you can cut out a pit stop here, that's making things very, very easy for you this afternoon.
So Casey Pavlones, he's pitted from the mid-pack, but now Jason Brophy pits from behind Phil Krause, who's done a great job managing the number to extend this run. Behind Brophy looks like Jeff Drake, Jacob Oster going to box as well. Some machines really struggling on this mileage.
I saw Olsen get a little loose coming off one of the corners, and a little bit of a fishtail. That got a little bit of a reaction out of me. I am expecting Alexis or Alex Van de Sant to go probably longest on this run. That's just my expectation. We'll see. But then we also have the first of the non-power slide I5G group starting to come up into the top 10 now. Ryan Campbell, Chad Simpson, Clindy in 9th, Matt Taylor in 10th, and this is all while we're doing pit stops. So they're going for fuel economy.
Some good pit stop entries there from the leaders. It is Alex Van de Sant that is extending the longest, though. He is good at fuel mileage. I think back to some Lionheart IndyCar races, but not just fuel mileage. Getting in and out of pit lane efficiently is something Van de Sant has won races on before. We're looking at Jason Brophy on the bottom of your screen, who's come out a considerable way behind Malechka and Alex Russell. So where is Phil Kraus, who's stationary for around 9.4 seconds, going to end up bleeding off Russell and Malechka back to the swapping back and forth, and Kraus is going to filter in just behind them, Lewis.
Yeah, Hugo Olsen's going to be a fair way off, which will be a bit of a problem for him. We might have a 3-car breakaway here towards front. Could just be 2, though, with the top 2 breaking away. I'm assuming straight into the slipstream goes Phil Kraus. And, of course, again, they'll switch around between Russell and Malechka. Great stint, by the way, for the top 4 that have been able to stay out and extend this stint all the way to the end was lap 32, I think they've got to the end of. But again, with the 3 out laps they had on there, that means they're in pretty good stead to pit around lap 133 to go, then 100 to go, then 66 to go, and then 33 to go, and then see the checkered flag. Obviously, that's getting way too far ahead of yourself.
I think. Let me add to that, Lewis. Also, they did 35 laps on that stint, and that's what you mentioned, the extra time at the pace laps. They'd be closer to doing 40, and 40 laps here is 100 miles.
And we do have a 3-car breakaway once this is all settled out. Van de Sant settles into the second group, but it's Malechka, Russell, Kraus with a 2.5-second advantage over Hugo Olsen, the 2-time champion, who now has leapfrogged in front of Jason Brophy, Alex Van de Sant, with Alexis Newsom and Adam Blocker making up the rest of that chasing group. The main peloton behind them. Well, Jacob Oster has got an angry pack on his rearview mirror, and here comes Chad Simpson shuffling to the inside. And now, Gary, these two have to start swapping back and forth to close the gap to those in front.
They have a huge gap, and they got to work together. They have no choice, and they're going to spend this entire stint now working together to try to reel in that 4-second gap, and they will spend the better part, if not the entire part of this whole stint, just doing that.
No cautions yet. I know Lewis doesn't believe in a commentator's curse, but maybe people who do would love for us to start talking plenty more about that. This is what green stop pit stops do, Lewis, though. They break the field up, and that great wall of power slide is sitting at the front still.
Yeah, but you know what? I think Phil Kraus is in an extremely good position here in this race. I mean, you've got to compare where the others stopped versus him. Obviously, we had Malechka stop at the end of lap 32, again, including the 3 pace laps he had there. So it was 29 that Malechka was in the pit lane. It was lap 30. For Phil Kraus, 33 rather, for Phil Kraus. So quite a few laps later, I think Phil Kraus is in a really good spot at the moment. You can see it there on the left-hand side of the screen. That is a significant distance to be in. And obviously, with him being in the same kind of campers like Hugo Olsen and such, that now has to burn a lot more fuel to try and catch his top 3. Phil Kraus can sit there, watch some switch positions, take the double slipstream and think, I'm just going to do the same as what I did in the first one. It's great.
I am picking up what you are putting down. Meanwhile, Jason Brophy and Hugo Olsen picking up the draft of one another and starting to try and slingshot back and forth. And this coordination it's not easy, Gary. It's something where certain teammates are more efficient at doing it. And the reason I bring that up is, well, Alex Russell, Rob Malechka, Hugo Olsen, Jason Brophy, they are all teammates. Chad Simpson and Jacob Oster, they aren't teammates, and they are losing time right now as they try to do the swap back and forth between the two of them.
They are not teammates, but they have a lot of experience, and you can see what they're trying to do. But now that was 4 seconds, now it's 5.2 seconds, the gap up to that group in front of them. So it's not working. So maybe what does Chad do? Does Chad want to maybe open the door and let Jeff Drake on by, and then let Drake and then Oster try to see if they can maybe work that group forward? I don't know. They can't afford to really lose any more time, because they're going to spend the better part of the next 25 to 30 laps just reeling this group in. But I do want to give a couple of shout outs. Brendan up 6 spots, Tyquilla up 8, and they're up into the top 15 now, both those drivers.
Yeah, there were some big mix-ups on that pit sequence. We talk about the difficulty of getting in and out of the box and the lane efficiently. Noah Carmichael, he's now dropped to the tail end of the field. He's running by himself as well, regrettably, so a rather lonely experience. This is the group 4th on back that our eyes are focused on. AJ Musselman, he's got another big group behind him. Christian Steele, who may have got some of that damage repaired, Lewis, because he's looking a little bit more steady now out on track.
Yeah, maybe there's a little bit more speed back behind the wheel of his car. Whatever damage there was, hopefully, has been sorted. I will say, though, there are some concerns for some of those towards the back of the field and for some of those at the front, because you mentioned Noah Carmichael there. Compared to so Robert Malechka, who's now our race leader, just come out of turn 4. Going through turn 1 is Noah Carmichael. There is only the stretch between effectively the back of the field and the front of the field. That car's going a lap down fairly soon, and not too far ahead, realistically speaking, of Carmichael is a group of cars, and that is going to be a little bit of a nervous moment for Alexander Russell, for Robert Malechka, and for Phil Krause, and that's potentially the opportunity that Jason Broken, Hugo Olsen, Alexander Van der Sant, and that lot need to be able to bridge the gap up to that top group again.
On board with Malechka, who's just swapped with his teammate into turn 3. Pit entry off on your left-hand side and fly past the yard of bricks to end yet another lap in this race. 159 now left to go. Russell Malechka continuing to swap back and forth and dominate at the front. I was just actually looking at some of the in-sim chat messages as well, where some of these drivers have realized that they need to be swapping as well. Casey Pavlones, message in chat, maybe asking Brian Carey for some help with that swap drafting.
Yeah, that's pretty common between drivers. Hey, buddy, help me out a little bit. I need a hand. Let's work together. Sometimes you can do it on the radio, but the series organizers have asked to keep the radio chat to a minimum. So going to the text chat to as a plan B. Basically kind of old school style, where they used to hold out the old pit boards kind of back in the day.
Still do.
As a driver, though.
Go ahead, Lewis, sorry.
As a driver, though, he's typed that, like literally, it's kind of like, right, whilst we're on the start finish straight, let me pull the laptop onto my lap and then type that message. Yeah, into T1, hit enter to send. That's tough. That's tough.
Well, there are some drivers that seem to relish the opportunity to type while in sim. I look at the Malechkas of the world who frequently, they jump into our YouTube chat and it's just like, what are you doing? Drive the car, please, and focus on that. Brian Carey very focused on keeping that 79 rev limit power slide.
Can I talk about his setup there real quick? Because he's racing in VR. So he has buttons, and you can see his wheel there. He's got a nice wheel. So he's got buttons mapped on his wheel. He's doing that all by memorization and feel, where those buttons. He cannot look down and say, I'm going to hit the hybrid button here. He needs to have it felt out and memorized by his thumb, or maybe he has it set to a trigger or someplace else, but he just doesn't have the luxury where some of these guys driving on monitors could just look down and say, oh, there's my button, I can hit it. He has to go by feel.
I'm pretty sure he took his hand off the wheel there to use the mouse for a second and probably adjust something in a black box and just make sure they're all configured. That was Lucas Lodato very close to the wall in the World Sim Racing machine. Want to give our congratulations to Daniel Ferguson, team manager at World Sim Racing, recently engaged, and that's why he withdrew his entry in the PRI Hoosier 500. Christian Steele is headed down to pit lane, Lewis, so putting 2 and 2 together, not looking good.
Yeah, we thought maybe the damage had been sorted, but obviously has tried playing a long game here to try and stay out on the racetrack and hope for a caution to then get whatever the problems are, whether it is with the car, whether it's rig, whatever it is. get some of that sorted, but alas, it's not
Ooh.
going his way, and so it's now a lap down.
He's out of the cockpit.
We'll get word from him as soon as he sends us some sort of an update. This second group, by the way, is starting to close the gap to your leaders. Jacob Oster is now 13 seconds off the lead, so they have lost, I think, this group, and they need a caution. These drivers are at most 5-6 laps away, Gary, I feel, from starting to have to deal with the dirty air of those in front of them.
Yeah, the leaders have Carmichael, Lucci, and Bradley, 7.3, 8.7, and 9.3 seconds respectively in front of them. So they're rapidly catching them. And again, they're kind of hoping that maybe they could get a little bit further into this run, closer to the end of the stint, and maybe pit before reaching this group. But I don't think the math is going to work out, and they're probably going to catch them with about 4 to 5 laps to go in this stint of theirs.
Christian Steele did try to get that car repaired, but now sitting stationary for a good 90-odd seconds. I think that is probably confirmation that damage a bit too terminal to head back out there. Meanwhile, Brophy Olsen continuing to swap back and forth quite effectively, I must say as well. One of the big movers on this race, though, Ty Keeler, he's +8. Carl Clenworth +8 as well, Lewis. This is exactly what we were talking about in our countdown to green. Stay out of trouble, and there are good finishes to be gathered.
Yeah, some of those can come from maybe pitting early to get out of the battle pack and then maybe find some clean air. And that might be where some of those positions have been gained by basically playing the strategy slightly shorthand, which means that then later on in the race you're going to have to kind of effectively give that time back. But I don't hate that as a strategy from being towards the back. I think if you're towards the back, you either have to go super aggressive and go really, really long, or go super conservative, super aggressive and go really, really short, or super conservative and go really, really long. If you kind of do the same thing as everything else, obviously you're just going to stay at the back of the field. What's the point in that? And I do think some of those drivers that have moved forward this early, it's because they've played the aggressive card. Now, that sometimes can work, but it also can mean that later on in the race, when you have that price to pay, that price is potentially far larger than you were expecting at the start of the race, when you were just putting that foot down and leaving it in map 1 and going full send.
Yeah, and that fuel map topic is something that has been a evolving conversation since I started racing these Indy cars now almost 6 years ago. So back then it was effectively a waste of time to even try the fuel maps. You were fully dependent on the lift and coast. It's great to see that now drivers have a few more tools at their disposal in order to try and achieve the most efficient result possible. Carl Clenworth's one of 13 rookies in the field right now. Although a rookie in all but name, I would argue, for Alex Russell, Gary, who at this point is making a very real case for Screenmobile Rookie of the Year. He's obviously helped by being part of the Great Wall of Power Slide.
And he's hanging on a lot better than Robert Schwartzman did in his maiden 500. Of course, Robert, I think, made a little bit of a pit road gaffe in his Indy 500 to kind of ended his day. But Alexander is doing what he needs to do. He's got a lot of experience around him. But again, Alexander Russell, rookie in name only. So just work with what you got up there. A lot of experience, a lot of trust between those drivers as well. And he takes a shot at the lead right now one more time as they continue to swap draft up at the front.
Being told, by the way, the damage for Christian Steele was done off turn 2, so it does seem as though officially our first DNF of the day after Steele, unfortunately, DNF'd back in 2024 as well. That's a, unfortunately, 100% DNF record so far. The lap times, Alex Russell and Phil Krause last time were identical, by the way. So, Lewis, you already said this earlier, but as we get towards the last 10 laps of this particular fuel window, Krause must be loving life right now.
I think he's in a great position. He can kind of keep close to the top two, where he's getting an awful lot of this slipstream and punching a big hole in the air, so he can really look after some of the fuel numbers. but then also not use the tyres. Know that he's going to go longer. The problem is, though, that might rear its head after the next pit sequence is that I don't suspect that there'll be 4 laps of difference this time as there was in the opening stint between where Malechka and Russell and then Kraus comes in, which you can see there on the tower on the left-hand side. I don't think it'll be quite as bad. But let's say, for example, that Phil Kraus, who is getting a decent amount of the slipstream, let's say he goes 2 laps even longer than their stint. So that's the 4 laps longer than Malechka, plus an extra 2 laps. That's 6 laps longer. That's amazing. That's great. That's lovely. Perfect. However, it does then mean that Malechka and Russell will most likely be able to go far more aggressive on the in and the outlap, and it means that potentially that gap might have grown large enough that Phil Kraus can't then pick up the slipstream from Malechka and Russell, which then would put him in a potentially dangerous position where he's trying to go long but doesn't have the slipstream to do it.
Yes, by the way, last 3-lap comparison, you can see that it's still fairly even between the top 2 groups. If you now make a comparison back to Jacob Oster, well, Gary, that's when it becomes a lot more clear. Oster on back, 9th on back, losing time every single lap.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to work for them right now. Cooperation's not working. Moving around to getting guys to lead, the different guys to lead the group, it doesn't seem to be working. Maybe that they got to get that caution. Maybe that's what they need to do. Adding to the point on Phil, also Phil's just setting this whole thing up if he's in contention to get to that final pit stop. And if he can go deeper into runs than everyone else, that final pit stop is going to be that much quicker for him because that's less of a Phil.
Yes.
For Phil.
Still have to stay stationary to replace those Firestone tires unless we end up in some sort of mad fuel-saving scenario in which they're doing a splash and dash and not throwing on tires, but that is very much going to be caution dependent, which, knock on wood, with 145 laps still left to go in the 5th running of the PRI Hoosier 500, yet to see safety car needed out on track, even with the 1 DNF confirmed about 10 laps ago with Christian Steele, the 2022 iRacing Indy 500 winner, retiring.
You're desperate for a caution. I can feel it. I can feel you're trying this thing where you know that I know that there's no such thing as a commentator's curse, and you're trying to be like, let's see if we can tempt. Let's see if we can bring out the commentator's curse.
Do you want me to do it? You want me to do it?
It doesn't exist.
Well, I actually commentated a caution-free Indy 500 in the Elite Racing League a year ago, and that was won by Hamilton Akabuizi. Robert Malechka was in that race, but we went caution-free. So now that I mentioned that, here comes your first caution.
No, it won't happen.
Yeah, Lewis is a rather firm believer on this. But what I'll say, Lewis, is responsible adult at Radio Show Limited. She very much believes in it. And I ain't disagreeing with the responsible adult. So I don't care. I firmly believe in the commentator's curse. Totally did not almost get in trouble for bringing out a caution during a race. I think it was Mustang Challenge earlier this year. Yes, I know. You're going to say, I didn't bring it out.
You didn't bring it out. It's not like all the... you're setting me off. Literally, this feels like I'm in the comedy with the Cameron Roger, and he's just trying to poke me a little bit because he knows that it really gets me going.
If it makes you feel better, at least I haven't talked corner numbers about Road Atlanta as we see Josh Chin down to pit lane. And my fear here is this is contact related.
This is early. Arjuna, do you remember when here come the leaders of pit road, by the way. So this is scheduled. But I don't know if you remember when I brought the caution out on Joseph Newgarden at Gateway. I don't know if you remember that one. But when he passed for the lead, I said, this is Joseph's race to lose unless someone wrecks him. And then 4 laps later, he got wrecked.
Well, Josh Chin, stationary for 8.4 seconds. That is actually scheduled. There was no damage there. But this is about 30 laps in, and so it's not a fuel run for Malechka and Russell, and once more, Kraus is left out there, but this time in no man's land, Lewis.
Yeah, this is what I meant. Is now he's going to be sat by himself. Jason Brophy, Hugo Olsen, Alexander Van der Sant, Alexis Newsom, and Adam Blocker will all be able to close down on Phil Kraus, who's just basically sat on the circuit by himself. So this is the dangerous thing about going longer, is that you will get hung out to dry like this. You will be out on the circuit. And this is the kind of time where you think, right, well, now I've got the clean air. now I need to push 110% and try and throw this car around the circuit. And that's when you get close to the walls. And especially as we saw earlier in the race, when we saw Christian Steele retiring from the race, I said about the turn 2 wall, probably about the most popular wall to hit around this circuit is slamming it into that wall on the exit of turn 2, unless it's the 2011 Indy 500. And yeah, it's the last one. That's fine.
Well, Jacob Bradley effectively passed in a straight line. He almost looked like he wasn't moving coming off of turn 4. That's the effect of old tires versus the fresh rubber and a hooked-up race car, as now Malechka and Russell try to get to work. Gary, this is the danger, though, for them. They have been dropped into some traffic, and if they lose some time here, even though Kraus has got no help, he's not going to be losing as much time as he would fear. Oster next into pit lane.
I'm surprised that Phil hasn't answered if that's what's a concern of his. I don't think he is concerned to kind of what Lewis's concern is. I figured he would come in a lap or two, but really there's 8 laps, now 7 laps different from where he pitted the first time. Keep in mind there was the parade laps and everything before that. I suspect that he'll come in anytime after 30 laps into a stint, and he's at 28 as Brophy takes the turn down pit road.
So that's going to separate that group of Olsen, Van der Sant, Newsom, Blocker back slightly, as Brophy was the leader of that chasing group. Here's Malechka, Russell, who have now closed slightly to Chris Fowler with Lucas Lodato, Casey Pavlones, and then Brian Carey all in front of them. Jason Brophy, as mentioned, coming to pit lane. Jacob Oster leaving pit lane, Lewis.
One thing that I will say is once this whole pit lane sequence is done, Russell and Malechka will have a pretty substantial lead as a duo over the rest of the field. Phil Kraus is now coming into the pit lane, so he's chosen to fail now, bring it down to pit road speed. I'm not sure he's going to be able to rejoin the rear end of the top 2, so I get the feeling that's going to drop and change. Alexander Van der Sant again continuing to rotate around the circuit. It's 3 A's, first, second and third, with Alexander Van der Sant, Alexis Newsom and Adam Blocker.
And now we wait to see if Alex Van der Sant's going to be able to extend even further. Remember, he stayed out 1 lap later than Newsom and Blocker last time around, and he's got a pretty healthy gap between them as well. Out of the short chute through 3 and 4. So does Van der Sant peel off to driver's left? Does he extend another 2.5 miles? Yes, and following, Newsom and Blocker able to extend as well, Gary.
When I used to compete against Alex in the Lionheart series, everyone was like, what's your pit strategy? And I'm like, whatever Alex does, because I know that he is saving the most fuel out there. And once again, he's proving that, getting a little extra lead time. 30 laps into this stint. Alexis Newsom, 31 laps into her stint. Adam Blocker, 31 laps into his stint. Again, Chad Simpson, 31 laps. And Brendan Lichtenberg, 32 laps. And that's your top 5. They are the economizers right now.
Yeah, doing a great job using the fuel maps, the lift and coast, to extend the number. Is it going to be 31 for Newsom and Blocker? Make it 32, apparently, at the very least. I think they recognize what is up for grabs. Oh, heartbreak for Jacob Bradley. Speeding penalty entering pit lane, Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, that's it's brutal. It's not going to be the last time that we see that today, though. I think a few other drivers will come a cropper of that one. It's so easy to do on the way into pit lane. It is the hardest point of this entire track. So no major shocks that we've seen it happen once. By the way, I will say with Phil Kraus, we'll see this replay in the bottom right to see. I'm assuming it's going to be a lockup late on. Oh no, just way too fast in. Just blew past the entry.
Very easy to miss your marks. You are about to comment on Phil Kraus, Lewis. He's right behind Malechka and Russell.
I mean, this is what I was actually going to bring up just a second ago, is that I was wrong. I said that I didn't think Phil Kraus was going to be near Russell or Malechka. Clearly, they've had a little bit of traffic.
Lewis, sorry, Alexis Newsom has got a meatball flag entering onto pit lane, lost the front nose of the car, and pit entry has bidden one.
Such a shame.
It's hybrid, what? Nose, yes, yes, we saw that a lot in the pit stop competition yesterday.
We'll grab a look in a moment. But that is heartbreaking. Someone who we all were thinking, Gary, could be a contender, taken out by something we knew would be a factor.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate. That was one of my picks right there.
One more look on board.
Obviously, as soon as that, as soon as you get hard on those brakes, obviously the brakes are freezing cold around the circuit, because obviously you don't use them. That plus the recovery, the recovery is always it's on the rear wheels. This ain't Formula E where you get a little bit on front and then most in the rear. This is just all of that energy recoveries through the rear wheels, and it snaps and it's brutal. And it'll probably be a little bit embarrassing, but it's so easy to do. It's such a fine margin. You have to take it all the way up to the top end of that margin.
We'll give you an update on how things stand post-cycle in a moment, but let's give Ricky Paz his moment in the spotlight, because he'll enter pit lane technically leading, although it won't be credited, I believe, as a lap led, as Malechka's going to get in front of him as Paz extends the stint furthest of them all. So once more, it is a trio at the front, with Russell Malechka continuing to swap and Phil Kraus continuing to sit at his fuel. Behind them, Jason Brophy, Hugo Olsen and Alexander Van der Sant have got some separation now to Adam Blocker, who's lost out as a result of that incident for Alexis Newsom.
A lot of people might be sitting at home and asking, well, how hard is it to slow down these cars from 220 down to 60 miles per hour when they're road course cars? They do it all the time. It's not the same equipment. This is a super speedway configuration, and the brake discs on these cars are much smaller, much slimmer than the brake discs they use on road courses. So the catching power of the brake discs for these cars is not as extreme as it is for the road course cars. And when they catch, they will lock up instantly, and that's what you see sometime with the cars fishtailing come on the pit roads. Remember, different type of brakes for these cars that you don't see on road courses. And that's why we see a lot of problems with these green flag pit stops.
Yeah, it's something you think about less in the virtual world. In the real world, they're playing all the games to try and eliminate any drag on the pad at speed, whereas in the sim, you don't even worry about that, right?
Right.
One of the things, Lewis, that we've ran the IndyCar in a lot of VCO competitions, and you can blame me for that if any drivers complained about it. But one of the things that a lot of them said that they liked about it, compared to GT3s on iRacing, where sometimes you're capped at a maximum brake force of 80% or something like that, and if anything goes higher than that, you start hitting into the ABS. I just found it interesting that a lot of the drivers said, one of the things we like about the IndyCar is we can attack the brake on a road course at 100%, trust the downforce, and then slowly bleed it off as we get to the apex and tail it into the corner.
Well, there you've just said it right there. That one of the main things, obviously you're saying there about the size of the brake disc and all that stuff, which is 100%. But there are two major differences between here and a road course that make braking insanely difficult. Number one is the lack of aero. Look at how small that rear wing is. It is tiny. And that does not help when it comes to slowing this car down. You get no assistance from the downforce effective. So the cars we're seeing this group switch around. Brendan Lichtenberg getting ahead of Jacob Oster. So those switching around for 8th positions, again playing those slipstream games between teammates. But the other thing, as I mentioned, it is temperature on a road course. Yes, you're on the brakes pretty constantly around the circuit. You're keeping those brakes nice and warm. They don't tend to lock up as much when they're nice and warm. It's when they're cold you get onto that brake, and it doesn't slow you down as much, and it's more susceptible to locking. And that's where the real difficulty comes around here. You are only touching the brake pedal when you want to use it at basically 100%. That is, you've got to have a great feel in the left foot. And if there's one thing that I know, I don't have that feel.
The saying is often, you have two left feet when we're talking about a lack of dancing ability, but that is not true when it comes to racing drivers. They've often got pretty good left feet.
Yep.
It's the coordination between the two that sometimes you wonder. Yes, Oster and Lichtenberg continuing to swap back and forth, but now close to 20 seconds off the lead. There are 7 machines covered by 8.5 seconds, and then 10 seconds back to Jacob Oster. The Great Wall of Power Slide runs through those top 7 spots, Gary.
Got the top 3, they're in their own group. Then you got the 4th, 5th, and 6th, they're in their own group. And then you got another group that's Blocker, Lichtenberg. Blocker's kind of buying himself at the moment. Then Brendan's 10 seconds behind Blocker, leading this whole group. So, again, spread out, but, again, dominance by Power Slide. But there's a battle for position on the backstretch between Seb Alexander and Josh Chin.
Yeah, I think Chin's struggling a little bit now. He may have also brushed the wall at some point.
Linking.
Another one that's been having issues with the technical as well, but it's a little bit hard to race around, but fortunately not particularly egregious, as I remember an IMSA Esports moment last year where a team disappeared from everyone else's screen, but still drove through them, and boy, did that cause some drama. That was fun. Meanwhile, we aren't even halfway through this race right now, and there is a very real threat as our leaders begin to lap some of the field that, Lewis, they could lap half the field by the checkered flag.
Yeah, and obviously they'll want to start lapping people, well, as soon as possible, because the more people they lap, the more they're effectively removing them from the race when a caution comes out. Of course, they might be able to get laps back, that kind of stuff, but it's just about trying to basically put everyone into a really awkward position where you're effectively removing people one by one as Roy Mleczka continues his uphill drive into the race lead there. Still Phil Craft just cruising behind. Got to say one thing, bit of a shout out, and I actually feel really bad for him. Adam Blocker, 7th position, probably in for one of the most boring stints of his entire life. Thankfully, he does have a little bit of a lap traffic on him, but
yes,
just I mean, driving in the middle of a race by yourself around. Now, don't get me wrong, great racetrack. It's so good when you're around other people. Driving it by yourself, it is criminally boring because you're flat out. You just turn around. It's like this is super not interesting, and he's burning more fuel, and he knows it.
And he's not even getting up into 6th gear because they need the draft to be able to use that gear. So it's a very different stint, that's for sure. But Gary, you alluded to it in our countdown to green. This is a driver that's come so close so many times. Second in the PRI Hoosier 500 in 2020 and in 2022. He finished 3rd last year. He's come so close in iRacing Indy 500 history as well. But it doesn't matter because he does have a real Indy 500 win when he was part of Joseph Newgarden's winning entry back in 2022.
And just show him the ring, baby. That's all he has to do. But in the virtual sense, this is very much like our version of Ted Horn from the 40s. 4-time IndyCar champion back in the AAA days. He did everything but win the Indy 500. In fact, he's one of just a couple of IndyCar champions, right there with Seb Bourdais, to not win the Indy 500 but still get an IndyCar championship. This is Blocker would very much want to check this event off on the list. And all he needs is one caution today, and he's right back in the competition. But right now, where he is, he's basically got an extended test session for this stint of his, where he's out there all by himself.
And it's somewhat settling into the PRI Hoosier 500 Endurance Hours podcast here as the green flag continues to fly and the action is relatively tame out on track as Andrew Marquez chasing down AJ Musselman, this for 18th position on the track. Remember, 33 starters, just one DNF in the early stages before Alexis Newsom joined her Team I5G teammate on the sidelines with an incident down in pit lane about 10 minutes ago. Once more, if you're just joining us as well, let's talk weather conditions because, Lewis, it has started to slowly creep upwards track temperature-wise.
Yeah, 119 Fahrenheit. It's not quite what it was in practice. It was 132, so we're fairly short of that. In numbers, I'd understand that's around, I think it's around 40 to 45 degrees Celsius. Unfortunately, I don't understand Fahrenheit, sorry. I do know that 76 is a beautiful day out there.
I wish it was 76 here today. I do. I really do.
Do you know what that is? That's cracking golf weather, that is. I just got to say, by the way, the little bit of separation happening between Alexander Russell and Robert Mleczka towards the front. There is some lapped traffic for the 91 to deal with. So now we might see some interesting things happen with this group. Maybe they might start separating as they work their way through traffic.
Yeah, I tell you what, let's go on board with this camera angle that shows us just how close to the wall that some of these leaders are going to get as they try and stick in that clean air, and this is where it gets difficult. We've had so much time with no one in front of you, Gary, and now you've suddenly got to figure out, right, the anti-roll bars which control each end of the car, how loose or tight it's going to be. Combine that with the weight jacker, how much you want to move the balance of the car on a horizontal sort of an axis, and now add the hybrid in as well. How many fingers, how many buttons can you be touching at the same time?
Not enough. First of all, I love the cam. That is the reverse Robbie Gordon cam from the 90s. I love that. But the weight jacker is for more subtle changes. The anti-roll bars are for more major changes in the car. And right now he is adjusting, probably starting with the weight jacker you hear him lift just a little bit there in the corner as he's behind Casey Povolona as he's getting the aero wash. There is no rule, by the way, that these guys in front of him have to move over for the leaders. The leader has to just make their way by, and then eventually later in the race, so hopefully these guys will give up the position on the racetrack to allow the leaders to race. But what Robert's doing is he's in the cockpit adjusting, starting with the weight jacker, and then moving to the roll bars if he needs more major adjustments.
I think I saw someone in chat saying there's 3 inches of snow in the New York metro area this morning. Gary, how much snow for you guys?
It is, I haven't stuck the ruler outside yet. I think we got about 3 or 4 inches. It is 8 degrees right now on the north side of Indianapolis.
What?
8 degrees Fahrenheit.
It hasn't. I live in Salisbury in the United Kingdom. It hasn't snowed here since 2018.
Well, if it makes you feel better, Lewis, my weather forecast for tomorrow morning is 100% not golf weather. It's -8 degrees Celsius.
I've snowed. I'm sorry, I play golf and I play golf at -5, -10. It's fine.
They let you play. That should be a frost delay. Sacrilege. Phil Kraus now in front of Alex Russell, though, and this is interesting now that they're getting stuck in traffic. Malecha's going to clear Chris Fowler in the Donate Life 40 racewear number 43, and now 2 bits of lap traffic between him and the next car in queue, Lewis.
Yeah, this is a really big moment for Robert Malechka, who's got that second gap, and right in the middle of it, right with a couple of cars left to go through, Phil Kraus might start losing touch of the race lead, and once it gets over about a second and a half, things start to look really good for the 91, although Phil Kraus can maybe burn some of that fuel.
Ooh.
But right now, it's looking good.
A little moment there with traffic. Going to cost Kraus slightly as he crosses the line once more. We aren't far away from pit stop. 4 more laps, if that, Gary.
Yeah, we're at 26 laps for Robert Malechka into this stint. He went right at 30 last time. He went right at 30 the time before that. So is he going to stay on schedule? Phil Kraus, 22 laps into his stint. Alexander Russell, 26. And then we go back to Brophy at 23 and Hugo Olsen at 22. You know, we watched this, and even in the sim and on TV, the sim and TV do not do the size of this place any justice. Arjuna, you've been here for real. I've been here many times for real. You're a golfer. There is a golf course. There's 4 holes of golf in the middle of this race course. You can also fit the Rose Bowl, the Vatican, Churchill Downs, Yankee Stadium, and I think the Coliseum all in the infield here in Indianapolis. This is how big the place is, and really the sim and on TV don't do the size of this place any justice.
No, but to be fair, I think that's kind of reflective of sim racing in general. It's hard to get a sense of scale, both size, elevation as well. Lewis, I think that's something probably you can attest to. Take somewhere like Brands Hatch, for example, that first corner. You feel like it's big until you get there in the real world. You don't realize just how big it is.
A Rouge Radion at Spa. To be fair, I'm not. I think I've been fortunate enough where I've visited a fair amount of racetracks, like commentating on them and stuff. So I remember when we went to Spa a couple of years ago, and I went, "Oh yeah, it's quite steep." As soon as we walked in, that was my first reaction. And then I was like, "Yeah, well, that's that done then." But if you think it is steep when watching it on TV, you have got no idea. It is so much steeper. And like you say, like Brands Hatch, Paddock Hill Bend, or how much the start-finish straight is also kind of all over the place. I'm sure when you go to the corkscrew at Laguna Seca earlier on the year, I'm sure that was a bit of like a whoa, that is a pretty big drop. And it is the same with something like this, is that you do not understand the scale without seeing it with your own two eyes, because this place is massive. But you just think it's so small just because of how it's only taken them 40-odd seconds to drive around it.
I think I walked about 32 kilometers just on race day for the Battle of the Bricks this year on pit lane as part of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. It is big. There is no question about that. This traffic has packed up the top 6. Now, it's not quite grouped them together, but what it has done, Gary, Alex Russell's really lost out big time here, maybe just not being aggressive enough with in-car tools and still yet to pass Chris Fowler. His rearview mirror filled with Brophy, Olsen, and Van der Sant, who have caught him quickly.
Yeah, they have reeled in that lead group, and we might see a battle for third start to brew up here very shortly, as the battle is now on the attenuator of Alexander Russell, who's trying to take a shot to the inside of Fowler going into 3. If he can clear him, which he will, there he goes. That's a little bit of a buffer back to Brophy, but Brophy now can work off the draft of Fowler and pull himself up to that battle quicker. So, we got cars coming to pit road. Pit road right now, it's Alexander Russell and Robert Malechka.
Yes, that's what Lewis had just noted. And so, right on cue, 30 laps complete. Malechka hits the lane once more. Josh Chin's already hit his mark. So is AJ Musselman as they try and stay on the lead lap, crucially, relative to the net race leader. A caution now, though, would really mix things up. Jacob Oster going to be the next to come down pit lane. Lewis, I'm just calling this what it is. The danger zone right now.
No, I know. I can just tell. You're desperate for it. You're desperate for some more drama. You and O'Leary, I mean, he'd be saying, no, you just got to let it play out. You just got to let it play out. He's one of the people that I think he'd want to see this race without a caution at all.
Oh, I wouldn't complain about that for the record.
Yeah, boy loves strategy. But, this would be a very dramatic time for a caution. And as proven that I don't believe in the commentator's curse, it's not going to happen. It's fine. We're going to get through this pit stop sequence. It's not going to happen.
This is the point in the race, back to that 2021 race. This is where Graham Rahal lost the wheel coming off of pit road. It was right about 110, 120 to go.
Awesome.
So that was the part of the race where they got one of the few cautions in the 2021 500. So always coming on and off pit road is always a period where the car is on the part of a racetrack, doesn't get used a lot. It's slippery down there, and you could lose control of it and cause a caution. So this is one of those parts of the races where you just kind of hold your breath, where you don't want the caution or maybe it comes.
Well, around the outside, Hugo Olsen and Alex Van der Sant could not afford to lose any more time behind Chris Fowler, and I think you can tell right now that gap back up to Kraus has opened up. Once he cleared the traffic, Lewis, he was able to get his head down once again, and I think this could be a chance for him to work with Malechka, who has gapped Alex Russell through the pit cycle. Not halfway through yet, but this could be another crucial green flag sequence.
But then how much does he turn the car up at the moment? As you can see in the background, Hugo Olsen's into the pit lane, I believe. How much does Phil Kraus turn this car up, right? And start working on that front right wheel, start really turning it, start really aggressively throwing this car around to make sure that Malechka's not going to be too far ahead of him when he comes out of the pit lane. I get the feeling for Phil Kraus, it's not necessarily about his fuel number right now. Not too far ahead of him is Jason Brophy, who's in 11th position, by the way. That's how far they've. Even higher than that, only. I think as soon as he gets close to Brophy, he's down now in 21st. He's already stopped. I think then you'd have to stop. But I don't think he's going to close in on that much. So I don't know. Maybe it is still free and open for him.
He's got 2 more laps maybe before he will be due back in, as the rest of the field watches the Great Wall of Power Slide continue to dominate this 5th running of the PRI Hoosier 500. Previous race winners, Michele Costantini, Hugo Olsen, and Phil Kraus. Will a 4th name be added to the list, or will Hugo and Phil be able to add yet another chapter in their storied history here at the Speedway across official iRacing competition and these PRI Hoosier 500s. Rob Malechka, by the way, if we jump back over to him, has now finally gotten in front of the cars that were yet to come down pit lane, and now a whole more range of cars. Fowler, Luchke, and looks like Adam Blocker as well, trundling down pit lane. And Gary, this is a chance for Blocker to do something different on strategy, to find some friends once again.
Yeah, and he's worked on the wall for real before, so maybe he just doesn't put as much fuel in it and tries to do a quicker stop and jump some people or make up the difference that way. And he's in the box for a long time, so I think he's going for full service.
Yep, full service, 9.7. And so another lonely stint incoming as finally, at the pit entry mark, Phil Kraus hits the lane.
Yeah, which is expected, again, a few laps longer than the Malechka, see how where he comes out comparatively. I do hope that Adam Blocker finds someone here. I do hope that there's someone out there to keep him company, because he is lonely this Christmas and he needs some help.
I think Jacob Bradley might just have incurred a second speeding penalty, by the way. So he has really struggled on that pit entry mark. We saw Newsom with the spin, but Bradley a second time being dinged. Alex van der Sant is still out there on track and extending once more as Phil Kraus building up the speed. Here comes Malechka already with the tires up to temperature. Russell's closed the gap as well. That's crucial for him.
Yeah. So good to see them back together as a trio. I was looking at this. I thought that Phil Kraus was leaving the pit lane too slowly, but again, it all seems to line up on the exit of pit lane, Archie. I don't know what this is about. They always seem to find they're talking to each other or something.
Let me go look at the Power Slide Discord. So Adam Blocker, Alex van der Sant, Alex Russell, Brian Carey, Hugo Olsen, Jason Brophy, Jeff Drake, Josh Chin, Phil Kraus, Rob Malechka, all in one voice chat right now.
Wow, it's like air traffic control in there.
My ADHD is going crazy just thinking about that, for the record.
That's too much chatter for me. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, you and I, we've done a race before, and you thought I was very chatty.
Oh, I think I'm at the point where I think everyone's very chatty. I very much enjoy the idea of as soon as I'm driving, voice chat's muted.
Ryan Campbell leads in the next group of takers to pit lane. Tykila included in this group too, with Blaze Andrich is just leaving Van der Sant Simpson out there as the final two. And if anyone's going to make an alternate strat work, it is Van der Sant, who 31 laps into the stint finally hits the lane as well.
Long drive down pit road at 60 miles per hour, crossing the yard of bricks there at the gasoline alley entrance and coming down to his spot a little bit further up pit road. He's hit his marks. They go up on the air jacks. About 4 steel rods come out of the bottom of the car, jack the car up, single lug on the tires, Firestone tires, full tank of racing fuel, down and away. Alex van der Sant's going to rejoin the battle, 9.2 in the box.
Meanwhile, we're watching Ryan Campbell rejoin just in front of Seb Alexander, who had a lengthy pit stop, and that's actually cost him slightly. So the Campbell special started in 13th, now in 15th, albeit with Chad Simpson and Matt Taylor both owing us a trip down pit lane, as do Matt Hollabo and Ricky Paz. We are nearing that 100-lap mark halfway through this race, Lewis. And it's almost perfectly split up for some of our competitors. Matt Hollabo and Ricky Paz are looking to try and pit on that magic 100-lap to go marker.
Yeah, and there are some like Alexander van der Sant who I don't think will be able to basically make it and do it on 5 stops. I think pretty much everyone, like I say, 101 to go, and technically the race start was at 2:03, but then of course that was with 3 formation laps. I'm starting to, unless you're very consistently finding the slipstream, very consistently sitting very high on the same. I don't think doing it on just 2 more stops from this point, basically anyone's possible. They all need to do a third. But the thing is with an Alexander van der Sant, and even to a degree with Phil Kraus versus Robert Malechka and Alexander Russell, is that stop will be shorter because they don't have to take the full tank. And that could be enough to either throw Alexander van der Sant back into it. It could be enough for Phil Kraus to give himself a couple of second lead after that final stop. And maybe that's what might see him take the checkered flag first.
Well, officially halfway through the 2025 PRI Hoosier 500, the Halfway Challenge Award presented to the driver who leads lap 100 in the race. is going to go the way of our pole sitter, Rob Malechka, with just over an hour and 10 minutes of racing complete. Now, less than 250 miles for us to go, and still caution-free. Ricky Paz finally hits pit lane in what is proving to be a very impressive fuel-saving gambit in the Blue Bolt Votive Racing 999, and will hit his marks and drop one lap down, as now have a whole range of drivers, Gary. Our leaders continuing to have to work through traffic and currently splitting up those at the front too.
Yeah, we got Malechka now. Currently, at least another 3 more stops we think that the Highnets make. He has right behind him Marquez, who is a lap down. Then his chief combatant of Alexander Russell right behind him. Then Phil Kraus. And to go off what Lewis said earlier, I think Kraus is just happy to see these two in front of him and pace himself. Kraus is just content to sit there and in the last 20 laps, then maybe start attacking. But there's nothing to do until you get to that point. So just hang out and economize. So that's kind of what he's doing. And then we go back a little ways to Brophy with Olsen and Van de Sant, and then Adam Blocker up 4 spots to 7. Brendan Lichtenberg up 10 spots to 8th. Jacob Oster 9th, and Ty Quilla making an appearance now in the top 10, up 13 spots.
And we'll talk about the Hard Charger Award as we get closer and closer to the checkered flag here in the PRI Hoosier 500. It is continuing to be the great wall of power slide that dominates at the front, but with another cycle of green flag pit stops in the books halfway through the race, it's our pole sitter Rob Malechka that continues to lead the way and pound in the miles here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Don't go anywhere. Run to the checkered flag coming up on RaceBot TV.
Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still shining bright through the sycamores for me. The new sends all its fragrance from the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, then I long for my Indiana.
Welcome back to the PRI Hoosier 500, where Rob Malechka continues to lead the way at the front of the field. The Great Wall of Power Slide continues to reign supreme, but there's a long way to go to the checkered flag. Arjuna Kankipati joined alongside by Lewis McLeod and Gary Godso. 94 laps still left to run. And Lewis, caution-free so far, not necessarily on many people's bingo cards, but it's very much shaken up the race as green flag pit stops have stretched out the field.
Yeah, I still think we are due one. At least one. I mean, I said 2 at the start of this broadcast, and I'm feeling pretty good about that. But as the laps tick on, it's one of those ones where as each lap goes by, almost the likelihood of caution drops down that little bit more. Bit by bit, it just keeps dropping because, everyone's that slight bit more spread out against those people that they're racing. It's only really lap traffic that you're kind of around. it will increase later on in the race as we start getting 20 to go, 10 to go, as everyone starts racing that a little bit harder for those positions. But right now, things are pretty content out there. Everyone's just cruising around on a Sunday afternoon.
And for the most part, the teammates at the front haven't started to fight too much, Gary. So at what point do the rules of engagement start to change? Because this is a race at the racing capital of the world. Winning here is special, and team orders go out the window as we get closer and closer to the checkered flag.
Less than 10 to go. They'll start setting things up, and then the gloves come off, but the elbows come out with less than 5 to go. And then we got to worry about the ever overhanging specter of netcode, and we hate that. Yep. So there's a lot that can happen, but right now everyone's being friendly because there's really not much to do until you get inside that 5 to 10 lap window at the end.
Jacob Oster in his last race with Team i5G, swapping back and forth with his Team i5G counterpart. The other two i5G machines, unfortunately, both classed as DNFs on the day, with Alexis Newsom having her issue entering pit lane and Christian Steele having tapped the wall on the exit of turn 2 slightly earlier on. And one of the great things about sim racing, in my mind, is that you get a peek behind the helmet, not just look at faceless void sometimes driving the car, but see the emotions, see the different setups at play. Here's Blaze Andrich in the Rogue Racing number 19. Started down in 20th, Lewis, and 4 places gained. He's one of the drivers with a triple screen and looks like plenty of buttons on that steering wheel in front of him.
Yeah, I like a triple screen. I like there are a couple of people, or I think there's 3 of them racing out there in VR, which I like the sound of. I would not like to do. If you've ever done racing in VR, it can get a bit sweaty and very uncomfortable very quickly. It's not a vibe. I've got to ask you a question though, Argina. Jacob Oster there's got a bit of a hat. There's some VR. There you go. That looks warm. He's got a hat on. There's Jacob Oster. It says Race Spot US 500. I was there. Is that the only hat with a Race Spot logo on it? Because I've never seen another one.
Ooh, well, I don't know if
when are we getting Race Spot caps?
It's a good question. We should ask Hugo about that, but I think you are correct. This is the only hat that has the Race Spot logo on it, and you can get this lovely hat designed by Mitch Welker on Redbubble, if I remember correctly. It comes in a beautiful pink, if that is your preferred choice of color. Ooh. So maybe, Lewis, so we'll get one for you, and I'll deliver it in person next year. Josh Chin, by the way, it's a 22-lap stint, Gary, and into pit lane on schedule.
Yeah, and he's going to hit his marks down and away, and he's done. Just as simple as that. He's down in 29th. He's on a different strategy, and he's being a bit. Sometimes the only way that you can make progress is do something that everyone else isn't, and that's what he's doing.
He is in danger if the cycle doesn't go his direction of going a lap down, and I think that's part of what is necessitating this from a previous iRacing Indy 500 winner. Is definitely not been all smooth sailing as traffic continues to be a factor for the leaders. That's Richard Craig, currently 17th position, and the last car scored on the leading lap, Lewis.
Yeah, Robert Malechka was looking for an inside move down at T1, got a little bit aggressive and went late with it, and Craig went on the high side, and I don't think so, mate. Of course, you don't want to go a lap down here, because if the caution comes out literally now, where you've just gone a lap down, you'll be kicking yourself. That'd be so frustrating to then have to go through that whole caution sequence and not pit when everyone else is pitting. It's not what you want. It's not a good vibe. So I understand why some drivers do try and fight it a little bit, and I'm not saying that Richard Craig did anything wrong at all. But it was maybe a little bit aggressive from Robert Malechka, who I understand that caution's out.
Well,
Hollenbaugh.
We said there might be one, and who is it? It is not just the satellite racing entry of Matt Hollenbaugh, but a 5th qualifying run for Dylan Freckleton in 5 years, and it is going to end in a DNF for him, unfortunately. This really shakes things up, and, well, Josh Chin is going to be furious because he's going to lose out quite majorly here. Let's take a look at the cause of it. Down to turn 1, Gary. You've got Freckleton on the outside, and some contact as they sweep down through the short chute.
Yeah, if we can go onboard onto Hollowball's car, you're going to see directly in front of him there's a car. He's getting the dirty air from that, and you watch he gets to the bottom, and he just scoots up the racetrack. It wasn't like Dylan gave him a lot of room off the corner exit, but Dylan doesn't have to. So I think that dirty air from the car, and that might have been Hugo directly in front of him, and that's the dirty air from Hugo's car, and it just scoots up the racetrack like that. There's your contact, and there is your first caution of the day, Lewis.
Look, we're on for 2. We're on for 2. I'm saying it. Come on. I just want to be right. I just enjoy being right.
Everybody coming to pit road, I'm willing to bet here. I'm willing to bet everybody comes to pit road.
Yes, I don't think that's anything to question. Are we going to see mistakes here, though? Because 1 through 7, it has been all power slide, but Gary, it's easy to make a mistake entering pit lane even at reduced speeds.
There might be somebody in this group. I would say maybe a Matt Taylor, Blaze Andrich, Seb Alexander, Chad Simpson. Somebody less than 20 laps into this stint might stay out and take a bit of a gamble here. We'll see, but here we come off the corner. Malechka, Kraus, Alexander, Hugo, Brophy. We're so far top 5 all coming in.
And everyone who's staying out does seem to be lapped cars. I think it's really Jacob Oster, Brendan Lichtenberg that are most at play here in terms of being able to spring a surprise. And so, yeah, top 16 all on the lead lap coming in. Everyone else is going to cycle back around and hope to try and dive back down to pit lane, as now the pit crew goes to work. In the sim world, you have a lot less factors to deal with, although hitting your marks is still important. Malechka will lead with Kraus, Russell, then Olsen, Brophy, Van der Sant, Blocker, and then some lapped cars trickling into the mix. And it's not a great stop from Jacob Oster. He might end up behind Ryan Campbell, Jeff Drake, Brendan Lichtenberg, blend off pit lane together, Lewis.
Yeah, Ryan Campbell had a really short stop comparatively to Jacob Oster. It was about a second and a bit slower in the 16. Really close between Hugo Olsen and Jason Brophy as well off of pit lane. That was separated by probably a couple of hundredths of a second rather than tenths. Very tight between the pair of them. What this does do, this completely nullifies the strategy. Every single car in that top group will be stopping 2 more times this afternoon at least, unless, obviously cautions and stuff coming out. You never know how those are going to unfold. But if it was green all the way to the checkered flag from when we go back racing, it will have to be 2 more stops for everyone. And it's kind of in that middle point where it's 2 stops and you're just going to be pushing on those 2 to the absolute extreme. There's not really going to be too much when it comes to fuel saving because there's no need.
Looking at how things have played out, Chris Fowler is between Adam Blocker and Brendan Lichtenberg. Because we're not inside the last 10 laps of the race, Gary, lapped cars aren't going to be cycled to the tail end of the field, and so it's still power slide 1 through 7 as we get ready to restart. Chris Fowler heard me, though, and has dived to pit lane and gotten out of the way.
Yeah, that's what we see executing right now is an actual IndyCar rule where the every car in front of the leader will get the wave around. They'll rejoin the back of the pack. So if somebody had to get a lap back and they wanted to stay out, that's how they do it. The pace car then will pick up Robert Malechka, and he will have the privilege, by virtue of being the race leader and first off pit road, of bringing the field back to green on our first restart of the day.
And hopefully, last restart of the day as well. Although it is an interesting time for this caution to come out, Lewis, because restart with about 80 laps to go. It's not a particularly complicated fuel number to work from.
Look, I don't think you've been listening to me, Arturo. You said that we don't want another one. No, we do. We want one. We want exactly one more caution.
Yes, I agree.
Because then I'd be right. But you are indeed correct. It's kind of it's not. I was going to say it's an awkward time for the caution to come out. It actually isn't. The only person it's awkward for would be Joshua Jim. Adam Blocker probably would have been so happy to see that caution come out. For the rest of the field, anyone running a fuel number, they might be a little bit annoyed because now there is no fuel number to run because it is just full push until we see the yellow again or maybe even the checkered flag.
Now, I think the lights are off on the pace car and there are some drivers that took the wave by that did not get a chance to dive back down to pit lane. So they are asking for a quick caution to fly, and it's a slightly checked up restart as a couple tried to go and then had to hold back, and back underway for the PRI Hoosier 500 with less than 85 laps to go. Now let's build up the speed, and Gary, I think the intensity starts to rise as well. The likes of Jeff Drake and Brendan Lichtenberg already starting to squabble.
Yeah, this is the first time since the start of the race that they've been in close proximity. This is where you got to pick up some positions. And Drake got the position going into the short chute and into turn 2. But here comes Brendan on the outside, and he's the inside going into 3. He's going to get it back.
And Ryan Campbell in a very uncomfortable spot as he almost runs into the tail end of Jeff Drake. It allows the opportunity for, I believe that's Ty Keeler, to also take advantage. He's having a great race right now in that P1 Broadcasting Techtopia Rogue Racing machine, but it is still power slide 1 through 7, a half a second gap back to Brendan Lichtenberg, who now has some comfort as Campbell pops to the inside in through the short chute. Surely not. That's a bold place to make the move work.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not sure it's going to work out. He's going to have to drop straight back in behind Jeff Drake once more, and it could allow Ty Keeler to work his way down the inside into turn 3 for the second time this afternoon. Phil Krause returns to the front of the field, but of course, as he did in the previous lap, it's his first time leading outside of the pit sequence. So for Phil Krause, he's wanting to go for it now. Everyone's wanting to go for it now. This is the highest percentage chance of caution that we've had all afternoon so far.
And I'm getting tense. If you don't have a Christian Horner knee tap going on, well, it might start to build. Campbell's pinching there on Jeff Drake, and they just about made it work, and it's checked up Keeler and Oster behind them. Simpson, Andrich, Alexander Clenworth. Train extends all the way back to 16th position and now out of draft. Campbell chops back into line. Here comes Oster.
Oster lost the wing, but iRacing forgave him. It grows back. But there's Campbell and Ty Quilla, they're teammates, so they got to watch fratricide here. But I'm right with you. I'm more along the lines of Will Power's wife chewing on that water bottle. A lot of nervous ticks going on right now.
Leaders continuing to swap back and forth, Lewis. They are loving the sight behind them.
Yeah, this is, I mean, well, you say loving it. I think they're looking at it thinking, well, yeah, we're breaking away, but that gap might close back down if we get a caution, which with the way they've been racing, we're getting a caution at some point because this is wild. It's so intense. We're going 3 wide on the run down into turn 3 as well, with Jeff Drake trying to get through. Ty Keeler's on the inside, can't quite find the way past both of them, but Ryan Campbell will drop down to 11.
And he has been really working those tires. That's the other thing to think about right now. The load being put forth, the Firestone tires. Fastest laps of the race being put in by the leaders. There is very little being held back for fuel numbers. Now they are able to push that little bit harder. Keeler's going to lead. The gap's increasing, and Brendan Lichtenberg's the only driver, Gary, that's been able to latch on to the 7 power slide drivers at the front.
That's the break he needed. The track tip continues to come down. It's 116 degrees. That's going to help those tires. But now Ty, he's about 2 laps away from joining that group. He's right in that draft envelope.
Needs to be careful they don't continue to fight and lose each other sometimes. Jeff Drake's been left on the outside, and it's cost him another spot. This time it's Chad Simpson that slips through. Through all of that, Lewis, I hadn't even picked up just how much Jacob Oster has lost. He's all the way down to 17th.
Yeah, it's really not good. So clearly he had a poor pit stop, did Oster, and now it's got even worse, and unfortunately things are slipping away. Still 77 laps to find your way back forward, 1 lap at a time. Our top 2 building a bit of a gap on those behind. It's similar to what we had earlier on in the race when it was Robert Malechka and Alexander Russell that were switching over for the race lead. This time, though, it's Malechka and Krause in first and second, and the 1 and the 91. But those gaps behind, they're tighter than they were earlier on in the race. No one's needing to save fuel anywhere near as much as they did earlier on in the race. And now, like I say, things are building in their intensity. And I get 3 wide in the replay. My goodness.
Lucas Lodato on the outside in the World Sim Racing machine, coming out of turn 3 and turn 4. Bit of contact there, and I think that was Ricky Paz. The left front gets broken, and no option but for Lucas Lodato to head back to pit lane, Gary.
Yeah, that's a retirement right there, and unfortunately, that little bit of contact, that's all it takes on the IndyCar, and it gives him the meatball. His day is done.
Yeah, you can see that car down low, slightly delayed on the turn-in. And Lucas feeling like he had no choice but to turn in. Now, Ryan Campbell has been black flagged by Race Control, Lewis. So clearly they've seen something that they're not happy with, and there'll be a drive-through penalty, I believe, to be served in the next 3 laps.
Yeah, maybe it was on the restart. Maybe it was obviously something when it comes to contact with other drivers. But either way, despite running in 10th position at the moment in a solid spot, we'll have to return to pit lane for a drive-through, which is obviously not what you want. That is going to be a painful experience. It's so slow on pit lane. It's slow when you're coming in for a stop, but it's a little bit eased in the fact that you know that every single other driver is going to be coming in for a pit stop. This is not that case. You're coming in for a drive-through, and it's just you.
Yeah, and it's effectively going to almost lose him the lead lap as behind. Rashad Craig is filtering into pit lane as well. Now, he is one of the drivers that did not get a chance to pit, Gary. The quick caution did not come, and there's at least 4 or 5 headed to pit lane.
Yeah, they were gambling for a quick one so they could then go back under caution. They would pick up the track position at the back end of the track. Then they would come to pit road. But that, not in the cards. The dice did not roll their way this time. They have to come and make a scheduled stop, and they still have another stop to go after this.
And heading into these closing stages, last thing you would like to do is make a mistake on pit lane, which already has bitten one of our top contenders, Alexis Newsom. Off and away, Brian Carey, Andrew Marquez are going to head out and drop behind our leaders. Now officially 1 lap down once more, 73 laps left to run. And Ty Keeler has indeed latched onto the back of Brendan Lichtenberg. They've stopped fighting, Lewis. They've realized what they were doing to each other. And now it's a 15-car lead train in these closing stages. Track temperature holding steady, 117 Fahrenheit.
And one thing that is interesting is Race Control have now removed that black flag from Ryan Campbell. So that's very interesting that it was dished out by Race Control in-game. It has now been rescinded from Race Control. I'm assuming pending further investigation. I don't know, Arjuna. I'm not in Race Control. I'm just a fat commentator.
I have sent a message to our RC team to try and get some clarification, but you are correct, Campbell, at least for the time being, has been given a reprieve. That's one of the other factors different than the iRacing Indy 500. Live in-race race control put forth by Tanner and the team behind the scenes. If you're Kyle Clenworth right now, Gary, what are you thinking? Back in with a chance of winning this, huh?
Keep the cautions coming, and I have teammates directly in front of me. I got Blaze Andrich, a teammate. I got a technical teammate, Seb Alexander. I got Chad Simpson, Ryan Campbell, Ty Quilla. I'm with my teammates. I'm with family right now. I'm feeling pretty comfortable.
Yeah, that's really where you want to be. And if they're all expecting one more caution to come out, then they are very much just sitting and waiting. Another look at Blaze behind the wheel of his Rogue Racing machine. Let's see who else we can compare some of the different setups up and down through the running order. Let's jump forward to Hugo Olsen. We talked to him pre-race. He's got the Christmas tree up already, Lewis, but look at that VR headset, illuminated as well.
Yeah, he's got some Christmas lights on his VR headset. That's mental. Look, I don't rate the Christmas tree. I'm a bit of a Grinch, so it's fine. It exists. It's a thing, I guess. But I do believe that is a T300. I'm taking a look at mine and then comparing it to what we've got on the screen. It does look like a T300 to me. I can't imagine what that must be like, right? Doing a race of this in VR. It's one of those ones I've always described it of like, you know when you get like a little bit of an itch, like just around your eye, right? You're driving around, that's no problem. Just like, whoop, scraps that away, a little bit of sweat, whoop, got that, that's no problem. You got VR, and suddenly that itch happens, or you get a little bit of sweat just dripping down your eyebrow.
Can I answer that? I drive in
Go
VR,
for it.
and just deal with it. Along with everything else that happens when you're doing VR, and that's when a pet just decides to jump up on your lap out of nowhere. That's happened to me in my fixed Indy 500. You just got to deal with it. But I like VR for a couple things. On road courses, you can see the apex, and you can actually turn and look. But on these Indy cars, sometimes when they pick up some damage, especially in the front wing, and you can't necessarily see it, and you can't have someone there in game to help you spot that, you can kind of sit up in your seat and look forward a little bit and see if you have damage on your wings. Kind of an unfair advantage, because if you had monitors, you wouldn't be able to do that. But there are some advantages to having VR, but it is another hardware nightmare sometimes.
Someone in chat, by the way, says those are infrared lights. We are aware. Lewis was making a joke about...
they're not Christmas lights.
Yeah, he knew. We're not as clueless as sometimes we appear. I guess it's interesting, though, Lewis, because you and I, I'm thinking through IMSA Esports Global Championship, Le Mans Virtual. I mean, the number of drivers that race in VR, you could probably count on one hand. And whereas you come over to the IndyCar, and I think you do see a bit more of the adoption, and probably a couple of factors. I would classify an Indy 500 as an endurance race, for the record. 3.5 hours in the wheel.
Definitely.
Yeah, so there's no question about whether there's an endurance element there. But one of the reasons why, Lewis, you and I don't see it in the road racing that we commentate on is, in the IndyCar, you're in the middle of the car. So when you look left and right, you see a lot more. Whereas when we're talking GT3s, or sometimes even the prototypes, right? You don't see anything. You look left, you see an A-pillar, and so there is a lot less of an advantage to having VR, and often sometimes a disadvantage. Gary mentions the hardware nightmare, but think about all the extra programs, Lewis, that some of these teams run behind the scenes that helps them work on strategy.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people if you go and look, a lot of people at the highest level of esports on the road side of things. Like I said, Le Mans Virtuals, IMSA Esports, Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, obviously, so many other championships, whether it is open wheelers and stuff. Just watched the iRacing Formula 4 Esports Global Championship, which wrapped up a week or so ago. If you go and look at all of those, honestly, you would be able to easily count on one hand the drivers that are using VR. It is very few and far between. Now, quite a lot of them still have VR. Now they'll drive about if they want to go and do just a couple of races casually. They might use it on that, or like what me and Arjuna do when we play golf, obviously, with it. Something like that. That's what they use the VR for. When you're doing your full esports racing, they tend to have the usage of triple screens. That you see an awful lot of at that top level, because it gives you that ability to still look around without the heat and the weight of VR on your face. And it's just a little bit less distracting, I think. Or at least I personally feel. I think as time goes on, you will see VR, when it becomes lighter, when it doesn't overheat on your face quite as much. I think as that becomes more susceptible, I think you will start to see it really be used in sim racing a lot more across the board.
Yes. By the way, a couple of pit stops. Ricky Paz, one of those drivers who's been on an alternate strategy. He's just made his way in and out of pit lane. But as we talk about all these different setups, I did notice a chat comment from one of our retired drivers, unfortunately, Matt Holliba, saying that VR made him a better road racer, specifically at tracks like Coda and Sonoma with some of those apex judgments. But again, it's all about whatever works for you, and building a setup and a rig, effectively, a full setup that includes your data analysis at this level and the ability to sit there and look at Motec data for hours and hours on end. But whatever is the most comfortable for you. Kraus and Malechka, as we've been talking about hardware for a little bit, starting to pull away now, guys. And Gary, I am wondering, even though we are single-filed 15 cars deep, dirty air in this hybrid, it's proving to be a big factor.
Yeah, Robert's 68 laps led, but he hasn't had to deal with it as much as maybe Phil has today. Phil, I think, liking his time up at the front at the time being, but everyone in the back, and we've seen this happen before with these cars. The top two kind of get the best benefit from working together in the third place, kind of just hangs on, but fourth, fifth, second, further on back, they kind of fall off the pace as just a side effect of the dirty air. We're looking, the gaps now are bigger between these cars. Before it used to be 2 or 3 tenths. Now it's 3 tenths or more, and that's really a new change that I've noticed since the new car.
Absolutely. By the way, we did get an update from Race Control. Ryan Campbell, the penalty was rescinded because, and Lewis, this is something that's very uncommon in sim racing in my mind, because another driver claimed responsibility. And Jacob Oster put his hand up and said, no, that's my bad.
I do remember it. The last time I remember something like that happening was 2023, which is, again, now this is the end of 23 as well. So it was 2 years ago. It was the ESL R1 competition. We were in Sweden, and there was an incident between Kevin Siggy and Darren McCormack. And I think McCormack got a penalty, and Siggy was like, it wasn't his fault, though. And they were genuinely arguing with race control. They never rescinded the penalty. So not only do I respect, a driver admitting fault, or at least the penalty was unfair, and I also respect race control for also being like, fair enough. If that's how you believe, we'll also rescind the penalty, rather than being like, well, that's what we saw, so we're just going to post it anyway. I respect that from both sides.
It's nice having live race control as well. That one caution took out 2 cars, and everything else that we've seen that's led to some attrition today has been a relatively minor single car incidents. Gary, I did get an update on Christian Steele and what he was dealing with in the early stages of this race. To quote, loaded the incorrect setup and was dirt tracking it.
That's unfortunate. I don't know what to say. Normally, the I5G guys are really good with the attention to detail and everything, and just loaded into the session. And I guess you forgot. I feel bad for him. Really, I just feel bad that to have your day end like that is much unfortunate.
He blamed himself. To be fair, much like Jacob took responsibility, so did Christian in this case. Just 17 cars are left on the lead lap. By the way, 2 of them are not in this leading train. One of them is Josh Chin, who we believe has been battling damage throughout the entirety of the day since the early stages. Some technical issues as well, regrettably. And Jacob Oster caught out on the on the restart that we just saw, and now sitting by himself, 4 seconds adrift of Josh Chin. 60 laps left to go, but Lewis, I'm wondering now, 5 laps or so away from any pit stop, is there anyone that's going to do something different in the next pit stop sequence of the race? Guess what? Yes, Jeff Drake into pit lane.
I was going to say, aside from pitting a little bit early, there isn't really much you can do. It's not the pit sequence where you can save a ridiculous amount of fuel. Like you'd be talking of going an extra 5 or 10 laps longer to try and do it on just one stop from when we restarted. That's not possible, not even remotely. So there isn't really too much that can be done differently. I'm more curious if this time, does Phil Krause, because he's been better on fuel mileage than Robert Malechka and Alexander Russell, but this time he's now battling with Robert Malechka, does he try and extend the stint the way that he'd done previously to try and give him a little bit of a shorter pit stop later on in the day? Or do they just go, it doesn't matter anymore, we're all doing the same thing, we're all just racing, let's just try and nail pit entry and exit, and maybe that's where we're going to build the gap?
It's a good thing that there's no one really working strategy, Gary, as we were talking about earlier, because with 11 Powerslide Motorsports cars entered into this race, this phase of the race for an engineer, one covering 11 cars, that would be crazy.
Well, one of these drivers actually is an engineer and might be just calling his own shots, and he's just hanging around, much like Scott Dixon does. And ironically, he's working for Scott Dixon's team, and that is Adam Blocker. I would not put anything past Adam Blocker. Now he can see the leaders. They're directly in front of him before. Remember, he was kind of doing this lonely Sunday drive. Now he's in the thick of it. Don't rule him out.
What a lonely drive that would have been. It's so easy to put yourself in a negative mindset, but Walker suddenly with a chance to make it 4 consecutive top 5 finishes, and actually it would be 5 consecutive top 10 finishes in the PRI Hoosier 500 if it continues in this way. I've seen some Adam Blocker fans jump into our chat right now as he's nestled in that grabber blue number 74 just behind Hugo Olsen. A couple of chops and changes as Josh Chin, 33 laps into the stint, he hits pit lane, and it means Rob Malechka is only 4 laps away, Lewis, from coming down for the penultimate time to pit lane.
Indeed. Just remind me, who did you pick for victory earlier on in the day? Who was your pick?
Did I end up picking anyone?
I don't know if you did.
He didn't.
Well.
Fence
whoever takes the white flag, that's who he's going to pick one of those 2.
See, my problem is I've got 11 teammates that I've got to pick between, and if I pick one of them...
You're a biased commentator?
Yes, absolutely.
I didn't pick my teammates.
Yeah, but...
I didn't pick my teammates.
I think I get in a lot of trouble if I didn't pick my teammates, Gary. Unfortunately got that one after how qualifying went. So, if you had asked me pre-race genuinely who I thought was going to win, I'd have told you to flip an 11-sided dice. Well, maybe not 11, maybe 6 or so. Because Josh Chin, his qualifying effort was putting him in a tough spot. I mean, to be quite frank with you guys, I would have said Adam Blocker was on the back foot relative to his teammates, Gary, just given where he qualified. As here come the leaders down to pit lane, 30 laps complete.
That's why I picked Blocker. I just thought that he would have to do a different strategy to beat those guys in front of him. And we normally see Blocker do a lot of saving and conserving. Now he's starting at 11th, and that's where Castro Neves won one of his Indy 500s from. You can't really do as much conservation from 11th as maybe Russell, Kraus, and Malechka are starting from the front row.
I think that's 7 in pit lane right now, is dropping and rolling. Kraus, it is going to be neck and neck with Malechka. He just gets in front. It's that clutch release that makes the difference. And Lewis now, Kraus and Malechka going to swap back and forth. It's Alex Russell that will be sitting and sipping the fuel heading into the final pit stop of the race.
But notice how Russell was in the same position that Phil Kraus was in the opening few stints of the race, sat behind the top 2 as they were switching over the race lead fairly consistently, but still pitted on the same lap. Now, I think that Russell had the fuel to potentially go a lap longer, but didn't. I just have that as a gut feeling because Phil Kraus could have gone quite a couple of laps longer earlier on in the race. I just think that he might have been able to go longer, but didn't, to keep the pack together. As you're absolutely right, Blocker is into the pit lane. I think Jason Brovey also into the pit lane.
Yes, and so teammates in. It leaves Hugo Olsen, Alex van der Sant as the remaining Powerslide Motorsports drivers yet to make their final, or penultimate trip, I should say, excuse me, onto the lane. Malechka and Kraus are back to the swapping. And with Brendan Lichtenberg having finished his pit stop sequence as well, he's finished up a full 6 seconds down the road with Tykeela Ryan Campbell as well. So another green flag sequence, Gary, that these Powerslide drivers have been able to maximize.
And going back to what you're talking about, Brendan, he was the winner of the pit stop competition in Shakedown Saturday. So I suspect that if he places that he really makes up on the racetrack, the bulk of them are going to be on pit road. The guy is very, very fast, and he has mastered at least the early stages of the hybrid coming to pit road. But Alex van der Sant going long again.
Yes, you can see him coming out of turn 2. Hugo Olsen, Chad Simpson are now in pit lane. And is there going to be a slight shift in strategy to try and jump them up? Already headed to the yard of bricks as Olsen is about to hit that pit limiter button and release himself. He's going to blend in just behind them, but it is once again the 3 that have continued to pace themselves at the front, Lewis, that are in control of this race with 50 laps to go.
Yeah, they've been class of the field, and once again, as you'll see everyone else come out of pit lane, the important bit is that those 3 have remained together and they've pulled a distance away from Hugo Olsen, who's no longer receiving some major slipstream from that top 3. And maybe the chances of winning a 3rd race here at the Brickyards, I don't necessarily think that Hugo Olsen's going to be, I would say he's not going to be in contention anymore, but it's just one of those ones where I think we're back to where we were a bit earlier on. With Hugo Olsen and Adam Blocker, they both need a caution to get back into this.
And I think as well at this point, so does Alex van der Sant. Goes long once more, but he's going to blend out about 2.5, almost 3 seconds adrift. There are the quartet of Powerslide and Team Hype drivers that once again are going to fight for 4th on back with a 3-second buffer to Ryan Campbell, a bit more of a gap to a handful behind them. One more pit stop sequence, and Gary, we aren't done, I think, with the drama in terms of cautions as well.
Oh, no. I think we got at least one more as the elbows come out later in this race. I'm very interested to see where we get around with 30 to go. The old Nick de Groot strategy of pitting always with 30 to go. That's kind of what he did when I used to race against him in some of the leagues, the Motorsports Journalist. He always had this strategy of pitting with 30 to go, and always seemed to work out for him. So the magic number for all these races is about lap 70 for a half-distance race or lap 170 for a 500-mile race. That's kind of what I expect to see the last round of pit stops to happen.
Nervy moment for Malechka as he works around some traffic. It was very close through the short chute. Very close off turn 4 as well. It's allowed a brief buffer to open up, but it will close down surely sooner rather than later as they head back up to turn 1. There's not much traffic in front of them as well, Lewis. That's one thing that the cautions have really done, is it's left some clean air for these drivers to fight in.
Yeah, it was Ricky Paz there. I do think Robert Malechka got pretty lucky because he definitely tapped the barrier a little bit. I think it was a light kiss. There might have been a couple of mil between him and the barrier, but it was close. The car's absolutely fine. Do not panic. But a very nervy moment where I'm sure he was contemplating what he would have been doing over the next 47 laps if he were to have tapped that barrier, because I don't think it would have been back in pit lane. Let's put it that way, because it's going so fast there. But Ricky Paz were able to work their way through. Robert Malechka now retakes over the race lead, and like I say, they're all thinking about when they're making that final pit stop. Do you know what? I'm going to take one thing back. I'm still going to sit there on 2 cautions, but now I'm sat there thinking, I'm like, if we do get a caution, there's no way it's the last caution.
Yes.
Because with how aggressive everyone's going to fight, there is no way we would only have one.
Yeah, I mean, look at this 3
group
wide.
Here. Oh, my gosh. This group here has been at it.
Yeah, Ryan Campbell, 2 moves in 1. And this is where I think, Gary, if there is going to be a caution, this is the group where it happens.
Yep, that's it. I've been watching these for the last 3 laps, and you've been at the leaders, and I'm like, Brendan is just staying on the tail on the attenuator of the car passing, and then he just kind of follows him on through, and he just slides back up. And we've seen a couple of near misses between Campbell and Brendan, at least on 2 or 3 occasions that I can think of.
And so, as we near that magic 40 lap to go number, why is that magic? We're getting closer and closer to the point of no return with pit stops. It is starting to get increasingly tense and choppy on the edge of the top 10. Malechka, Kraus, Russell very much at this point proving their domination through the course of the race. And to go back to something we had mentioned way earlier in the day, I'm going to go and find the milk choices for the top 3 right now. Rob Malechka with 2%. Phil Kraus, where is he on the social media post? Also 2% milk. And Alex Russell, there's lots of names on this, just give me a sec, sorry. Whole milk, Lewis. So we've got some traditionalists at the front of the field right now.
I respect it. I do respect it. Look, no one's taken my arch nemesis soya milk, so that's fine.
Man,
if you're going to go milk alternatives,
no.
There's so many better milk alternatives than soya milk. It's horrible.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it's just chocolate milk. Just
don't.
And I'll make
Arjun has seen my Instagram. I've got some fancy chalky milk.
He is a chalky milk enthusiast. And Lewis, to make you feel in good company, Ty Keeler, there's at least 3 drivers here. Chad Simpson as well, Chris Fowler. They've all picked chocolate. Strawberry, though, for Clenworth, Pavlones, Brophy, and Paz. Gary, chocolate or strawberry? I'm making you pick one.
Clindy's my man, but I would not have picked strawberry. I just think of the McQuick strawberry milk back in the day, and that was awful. So I'd go at least chocolate, but just whatever you do, just do genuine dairy milk, and don't do what Emerson Fittipaldi did. Don't tempt the gods. The gods were not nice to him after that. Do not tempt the gods. Just do milk.
What if you're lactose intolerant?
Well, then
I would pour it over you. You
take a lactate pill and you deal with the consequences. Winning at Indianapolis, it earns you a few rights. You kiss the bricks. I made sure when there were some teams and drivers that won in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, the first thing they did after winning, I told them, go kiss those bricks. And you drink milk. Doesn't matter if you're lactose intolerant, you have to. You guys, I will say, I grew up in Asia, so I've got some slightly different, I guess, experiences with some of these dairy products. Are either of you familiar with Milo?
No.
Gary?
No.
Okay, well, if you ever end up in Southeast Asia, or Asia in general, a Milo dinosaur is what they take. It's kind of like Nesquik powder, but it's not bad. It's good powder. And it's just like kind of street drinks that are made, randomly.
Very
Milo
right.
Dinosaur. Go and grab one.
Will I be in Southeast Asia anytime soon?
That's the question.
I do all of Formula E remotely, so not on that. I'll keep my eye out next time I go over.
We'll organize a golf trip, okay? That's what we'll need to do. With 40
Fair.
laps left to go, we are getting closer to that point of no return where if you get a caution, you would pit. Jacob Bradley's in, so is Casey Pavlones, but those are drivers, Gary, that are 31 laps into the stint. They needed to head to pit lane.
Yeah, we're at the point of the race that Rick Mears always set himself up for, that you survive the first 400 miles and you race the last 100, and we are in that window right now. And again, if the gloves aren't off on a lot of people, they are slowly being loosened, because as the closer we get to 10 to go and 5 to go, the gloves are off, the elbows are out, and then the fists start rolling. So we are in that window. Don't go anywhere. I think we're in store for an exciting finish. Don't go anywhere.
Someone in our chat knows what Milo is, so oh my goodness, I am blown away. A man of fine taste in our YouTube chat who says that he gets that hand-delivered from family in Australia and New Zealand, so kudos to you. This is the group where we're expecting trouble if it is going to kick off. Tykeela, Ryan Campbell, they're the ones swapping back and forth. I think Brendan Lichtenberg here, Lewis, is kind of tucked back into line and recognized that Keela and Campbell are the ones that are most aggressive, and a driver who's got, I think, 11 starts at this point in the iRacing Indy 500 top split. Well, he's a veteran. He knows what can happen in pit lane.
I mean, the person that was being the most aggressive about 3 laps ago, though, was Brendan Lichtenberg, who tried going 3 wide through the middle of the two of them, as he now fires one down the inside of Ryan Campbell, picks up the slipstream again.
That was close.
I mean, as we've been saying a little bit over the last few laps, if there is going to be a caution in this race, it's coming from this group. And it's coming pretty soon, because they are really not giving each other that much room around here. They're racing as if it is the last couple of laps.
They haven't even made their last pit stop of the race just yet. Maybe 7 more laps before that magic 30 to go number, if you're following the Nick de Groot strategy. Realistic. Sorry, go ahead.
I do want to point out that every car in this group that you're watching, with the exception of Brendan, they're all in a technical alliance, and I'm sure they're all on comms with one another.
That's probably not fun for Brendan, sitting there as the lone driver in the wolf pack with no help necessarily. Maybe that's also contributing to his strategy. Back up front, Lewis, the gap between Hugo Olsen and the top 3 is starting to close, but I think that is just because the top 3 have passed a bit of traffic, and once more they are going to be able to re-establish their gap. Hugo Olsen, Adam Blocker, Jason Brophy, Alex Van der Stant are watching this race slip from their clutches.
But also, Ricky Paz is still kind of keeping up a little bit with the back end of Alexander Russell, and that's what's kind of allowed Hugo Olsen to maybe pick up that extra little bit of slipstream. This is on board with Paz. I'm going to say it, at least in the competition of Christmas trees between Hugo Olsen and Ricky Paz, I'm going to say Ricky Paz's Christmas trees a little bit better. There's a bit more happening there. I'm still not big on Christmas trees, but there's a little bit more. That might allow Olsen to close back in if he can slingshot off the rear end of the 999.
I would assume that by the positioning of the Christmas tree as well, that Ricky or someone in his family has been playing plenty of Christmas carols on that piano, situated very nicely. Yeah, you're right though, that he's still showing some good speed, as much as, off strategy slightly. It's not cycled through in his direction. Matt Taylor makes his way into pit lane for what should be the final time today, but this is very fine, Gary. He is going to be relying on being 1 lap down to avoid doing heavy fuel saves.
Yeah, that's going to help him probably get to the end here. He might have to do a little bit of a fuel save, but that's just final stop for him. So his day done on pit road, and the best he could do is make it up on the racetrack.
Ricky the conductor, by the way, someone says in our chat, so very musically inclined potentially, but wonder what he's thinking about as Olsen gets closer and closer. Kraus and Malechka going back and forth, and at the front of the field now, Lewis, we have 2 of, I think, the strongest drivers at this track with this car. It comes down to the 2 of them, and the gloves come off. Gary thinks 10 laps left to go. I have no idea who comes out on top between the two.
I'm kind of at the point where if I'm race manager, if I'm the one in control of all this lot, even though I don't think anyone really is, they're all just chatting to each other. Do you know what? I think gloves are off now. I'm like, you lads are all well experienced enough around the Brickyard. You do you. You go for it now. You go for it whenever you want, wherever you feel like as a driver. Let them take the control. At least, once the final pit stop's out of the way, then you go for it. I've got to say, Hugo Olsen's obviously got past Ricky Paz now. He's, I think, come down onto pit lane. Hugo Olsen is getting the slipstream of Alexander Russell. Adam Blocker is also getting the slipstream quite a bit of the two-time champion as well. They are definitely not out of it, and they're dragging Brophy and Van der Samp with them. If they can close back in by the time we get into that final pit stop, which effectively will be open in 2 laps to go, this is wide open between those 7 cars.
And let's not forget that those behind did stop a couple of laps later than the top 3, so they might end up being able to shave some time off the pit stop sequence. You can see, though, they are starting to snake. That was not the leaders, though. Those are lapped cars in front of the leaders, who are still fighting as well. Andrew Marquez, Brian Carey, they're fighting for 19th position, and behind them, Chris Fowler, AJ Musselman, Matt Taylor, and Nick Lutschke are all stacked up. You can see Ricky Paz has cycled just in front of the Sim Racing Club at Purdue machine, and Noah Carmichael in the mix as well. Gary, do you decide if you are one of these two that you pit before you get to that traffic and get yourself out of trouble?
Oh, yeah. I don't want to get caught up in the dirty air. Don't want to cause me any lap time. I would hit pit road as soon as I think my window is open, which I think it's this lap right now. Get out of the way, get my final stop done, see where I pop up, and deal with it then.
So will they exit to driver's left? We haven't actually seen much chaos with the introduction of the hybrid, given how much the teams have been thrashing since Tuesday night to get the cars ready to go. They have been able to balance the cars very nicely. AJ Musselman, he enters pit lane, but he's already 2 laps down on the field as an independent entry. He gets himself out of the conga line and hopefully stay out of trouble. Lewis, what are you thinking now? If you're Alex Van der Samp, what can you do?
I mean, to be fair, not much. I think just drive around at the moment. Just try and close up that little bit more. See if anyone's going to require that pit entry a little bit early now that they're in traffic. Is anyone going to come down from that top group? If they don't, maybe you do. Maybe you're the one that actually kind of pulls the plug a little bit early to try and jump some of them. Gotta say, by the way, Hugo Olsen was unbelievably close to the turn 2 exit wall. Unbelievably close in the previous lap. I think there was even a little bit of smoke that popped up after it. It was incredibly tight. Obviously, gets better goes. It was much closer than that.
All right. We'll keep an eye on Hugo as he starts his charge back through the... I mean, look how close he gets on entry, just trying to maximize the arc. Alexander into pit lane, Clenworth in as well. That's slightly early. They're trying something different, Gary.
Yeah, I think they're safe to go. As they hit pit road, problem is they're going to have really worn tires at the end of this run if they go green all the way to the end, but they're good to go coming to pit road. Their teammates, but a little bit of a buffer now between Malechka and Kraus in the form of Paz again as they're in that lap traffic. But if you look behind them, Hugo Olsen, Blocker, they're all right there, all together now.
It's going to take something, and you feel the tension is not done. 33 starters, attrition has taken 5 down to pit lane. Still 28 runners, only 15 on the lead lap, and with Jacob Oster struggling, that number could be even less once we see the checkered flag. 26 to go, and still none of the teammates at the front have decided to head down to pit lane, and with the traffic starting to split them, Blocker closes up to the back of the Swede. Hugo Olsen.
Oh. That was not a good idea. Noah Carmichael's there, and Hugo Olsen was looking to the outside. I thought that was going to end. Oh, that was it. That was going to be it. Hugo Olsen looked to the outside as Carmichael was getting very tight. That was terrifying.
A very, very close moment. Meanwhile, Ryan Campbell, Jeff Drake, Ty Keeler, they're all on pit lane for the final time today. Hit your marks and avoid any mistake as Drake slightly slides deep but won't lose too much ground. Through all of that, Blocker's going to slide past now. One more of those lap machines. Olsen will do so as well and clear into the opening corner. It stretched them out slightly again, Gary. And Alexander Van der Sande, I was wondering what he could do. Well, he's on the back of his teammate Jason Brophy and going around the outside.
This is an opportunity on the outside, and wow, a lot of momentum there. Not much Jason could do. Discretion and valor this late in the race. Let him go. Big run down the backstretch now for Alex to the inside of Noah. He's going to get the position, and now he is just a car away from catching his teammate, Adam Blocker.
Let's see if anyone thinks that left side of the track's where to go, and Jason Brophy, I was thinking maybe he's bailing first. Josh Chin pitted a couple of moments ago. He's now the first car one lap down. What a remarkable race it's been for him. Not the easiest of races either. Your leader now got Kraus right back in the tire tracks. No Ricky pass to split the two of them. Lewis as Kraus closes up to turn 3.
Yeah, this is, again, getting a little bit close again with our top group. Was concerned that maybe the breakaway courtesy going through traffic wasn't going to work out. I like this strategy call from Jason Brophy. I like that he's trying something, and the rest of them are all coming into the pit lane now. So just a lap early for Brophy. Big lock up there onto the brakes. Back into pit lane, and Alexander Russell's going to
black flag.
Crazy scene.
Speeding penalty, and Alex Russell, who was on course, there's no question in my mind, to be the best rookie in the 2025 PRI Hoosier 500, win the Screen Mobile Rookie of the Year award. Well, it's all gone up in smoke. One final pit stop sequence, and he goes deep in the box just to add misery into the wounds. Off and away, Malechka in front of Phil Kraus, and a half a second gap between the two of them as they pick up the speed and rejoin the track. Hugo Olsen, Adam Blocker, Alex Van der Sande, they're on pit lane in the next couple of laps.
I have to wonder if Alexander maybe hesitated or something, because I think Phil had locked up and he had to make an adjustment on pit road, and right behind him was Alexander, and I don't know if Alexander was a reaction to that and he didn't hit the button in time or something, but that cost him the race, and effectively his chance for a win now, barring a major miracle, and I don't really see it coming, his day is done.
It might be Ryan Campbell that wins that Rookie of the Year award. We'll confirm that once the checkered flag flies. Olsen's going to stay out on track for a 29th lap of the stint, as Chris Fowler, Chad Simpson, they leave pit lane as well. Blocker and Van der Sande stay out with their teammate, continuing to pummel in the laps at the front, Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I'm liking that some people are trying something different. Jason Brophy's, I liked it, don't get me wrong, but it's not worked, unfortunately. He's now 5 seconds arrears of Robert Malechka and Phil Kraus, who currently sit 5th and 6th, but obviously have stopped. It's that top 3 that we're waiting to see when they come into pit lane. I mean, look, these are nervy moments for our field. Hugo Olsen's now coming down to the pit lane. Adam Blocker also joining. I believe Alexander Van der Sande is not so close again with the lockups.
Yeah, that is a little unsteady. Has that cost them some time as well? As for the final time today, Hugo Olsen, 2-time winner of the race. Adam Blocker, 3-time podium sitter, but has never won a race here at the virtual Brickyard in all his years sim racing. Up on the jacks they go. Malechka has been caught by Kraus once more as they fire themselves towards the yard of bricks. Off and away for the Swede, who leads the American off of pit lane. And I tell you what, yes, Kraus and Malechka are going to have a gap to those behind them, but if there's any caution here, suddenly, Gary, things have tightened back up.
I told everybody, don't go anywhere. This is going to be exciting. But these are the money stops, and you set yourself up all day, all race long. Every mile of this 500-mile race, you're setting up for this final stop, and it has been the best.
Oh,
remember,
Alex Van der Sande bid as well, Gary. Sorry. My goodness.
Black flag.
2 of the power slide contingent who were looking great find out just how treacherous pit lane can be. And now, just 2 left in contention, Gary. It's still power slide, and it's the 2 strongest all day.
It doesn't take much to make a mistake. We can just look back to Scott Dixon a couple years ago, leading to 500, had a shot to win, and sped coming to pit road, and that ended his day. It happens to the best of them. I shake my head, not at all, at these guys. I appreciate their bravery, and they're taking a chance here to try to get something better on the racetrack, and it just didn't shake out for them. But we're back up to the front now, and we're a 2-car battle with less than 20 to go.
And again, maybe no surprise to see the maybe 2 best drivers at the Speedway battling it out. The 2 previous winners of the iRacing Indy 500 swapping back and forth. And if you cast your mind back to 12 months ago, when we finished up the 2024 PRI Hoosier 500, it was Kraus and Malechka. Photo finish, contact on the way to the line, and the smallest of margins that saw Phil Kraus hold on. But again, a wrench could be still thrown if this group, Lewis, ends up triggering a caution. Ryan Campbell now in front of Ty Keeler. They are fighting for the Rookie of the Year award in the top 10.
Yes, they are. Like I say, it's going to be a lot of fun to see how they're going to unfold. Just going to touch very quickly on the top just for one moment, only because, yes, the top 2 are there. Hugo Olsen does have the slipstream at the moment of an Alexander Russell that's a lap down. Is picking up the slipstream of that. Technically, Hugo Olsen could drag his way back up into contention and be a part of the 3-way fight. You can see the white car there that's directly behind Phil Kraus. That is Alexander Russell, 1 lap down. Battling obviously happening there on the right side of the screen. We've got some great fighting happening around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That was Ryan Campbell against Ty Keeler, and the 2 of them, I mean, they've been pushing each other to their absolute limits the last stint of the bit. And like I say, if there is going to be a crash, it's this group, definitely.
Yes, likely to be from here. And I mean, Gary, Rookie of the Year. I mean, yes, Alex Russell was a rookie, just a name in my opinion. And it's not to say that Campbell and Ty Keeler don't have plenty of experience in IndyCar as well, but when you get thrust into this PRI Hoosier 500, the open setup, the demanding nature of qualifying, to be the top rookie, there's a lot of pride that you can take from that, and so neither of them going to hang back as we head into the final 16 laps.
I don't know, but I kind of see we have a little bit of a changing of the guard in terms of the super teams up there. We got Power Slide dominating the top 5 positions, but then we got Rogue Racing in 6th, 7th, 9th, and 10th.
See if this battle pack, which is starting to compress up again, if those team games start to play out. Now, there are a couple different faces here. Simpson, Lichtenberg, Drake. If it really did compress together, it wouldn't just be the Alliance drivers as it was previously, where Lichtenberg was the odd man out. But let's jump back up to the front now. 15 laps to go, will be 14 at the Yard of Bricks. Traffic in front for Malechka, who pops to the inside. And Hugo Olsen is now within drafting range of the leaders, Lewis.
Yeah, but again, he's still got a car to clear in Russell, and then of course the lap car, they've just managed to work their way through. Yeah, he's got to get past Taylor and Russell, the 2 that leaders have already got through, but he is receiving a very healthy amount of slipstream. He's got a lot of experience when it comes to racing and winning at the Brickyard. Definitely not out of it. We are about to see 3 heavy hitters do battle with 10 laps to go, and I could not tell you who is going to win between the 3 of them, or if something very dramatic might happen. I think it was the last lap, wasn't it? 2011. Was it J.R. Hildebrand? He was leading.
J.R. Hildebrand,
going into the penultimate corner, goes up wide into the final, smacks it into the barrier. Dan Weldon comes through across the line to win the Indy 500. You never know. Some of that might happen.
You're trying to pass Charlie Kimball, and he didn't need to pass him.
You're trying to speak something into existence now, Lewis, I'm pretty sure.
I don't believe in the commentator's curse.
Yeah, all of that talk from before. It's not just Hugo Olsen. Adam Blocker has a chance. I don't want to count him out. A driver who has never finished outside the top 10 in a PRI Hoosier 500, looking for a 4th podium finish as well. Let's be real. What he really wants, Gary, is the win. He needs a caution for that surely now.
Yeah, and unless his car sprouts a turbo on it that we don't know about, or he hits turbo.exe on the computer or something like that, he's kind of no shot right now. He needs a late caution, and the time is running out now. 12 to go, 11 to go. That's next time at the line.
Hugo Olsen continuing to bring down that margin in what has been a very, very fast-paced PRI Hoosier 500. The last couple of races have seen the average speeds drop off slightly, just a reality of the caution periods that we have seen. And this race has just had that one interruption hold us up momentarily, and a true sprint on the other side of all of that. While our leaders calm down heading into the final 10 laps, Lewis, let's go back to the Hornet's Nest, where it's now 6th all the way to 13th, and with some lapped cars in the mix too.
I don't like looking at the Hornet's Nest. It's terrifying. It's like watching a horror film slowly unfold. You've got the tension building. You know that there's a jump scare in there somewhere, and it's around the corner. There's 11 laps to go. We've got a great fight for the race lead. We've got a very intense fight back here, and what feels like a near guarantee for a caution. The only thing that we want, if there is going to be a caution, is that it doesn't happen with about 3 laps left to go.
Right.
We don't want to end this race under caution. Come on.
We have never ended the PRI Hoosier 500 under caution, although the iRacing Indy 500 has ended under caution a couple of times. The yellow flag will fly, and it is for Blaze Andrich, who we were just looking at a couple of moments ago. That's a wrecked race car and a distraught Blaze down on pit lane, Gary.
Oh, I don't know what we'll have to see when you re-rack the replay here. I just saw it in the background of the shot that I was on, and I just saw him spinning like a top. And here's that caution that we were talking about, and Adam Blocker is back in this thing. And let's see with the replay and see what happens here.
So, does anybody come down to pit lane, you may be wondering? I'm not going to say yes or no, because we only have 13 cars on the lead lap. Someone may well elect to try something different. Lewis, here's a look at the replay. Oh my goodness.
Just got ran over. Just got absolutely, was that Lichtenberg?
Now it's Lichtenberg.
Yeah, just got absolutely run over going through turn 1. Let's see it from up above.
No. Well,
I mean, yeah.
As someone in chat says, almost feels like a competition caution in some ways. As
I was going to say, by the way, just very quickly, because you were talking about pitting. If I'm like 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th,
yes.
I'm pitting.
Yes. Yes.
If I'm in that top group, absolutely not. Also, Hugo Olsen just blinked there a little bit, just making things a bit terrifying.
So behind
they're a lap down.
Olsen, a couple of lapped cars are going to pit, but I do see a Jason Brophy heading towards pit lane. Right.
Well,
who else is going to follow? I see on
Chad Simpson.
On the lead lap, it's Chad Simpson, but outside of that, it's only cars 1 lap down.
And Josh Chen also turned, I think he's still on the lead lap, last car on the lead lap, and he making the run. Might as well. If you got a set of tires, there's 11 set, I believe, that you get in this race. If you got them, smoke them if you got them. You can't take them with you. So you might as well, put them on and do a full send here in this last, on this restart, because this is it.
So
they're not going to get under chance.
Brophy ends up in front of Simpson. Now, everyone else is going to cycle behind them, so that's why we're not so worried about the race off of pit road with lapped cars. Lewis, I don't know if we're in the point where the next flag will end the race or not, if there is a chance for a 1-lap shootout if we get a quick-fire caution.
I think if we had one immediately, we'd be okay. We would end. Well, I say we'd end racing. We'd have at least one more restart if there was an immediate caution. If we're green for a couple of laps, then it brings it into question. I don't think we would get a restart. So, like I say, we won't be racing at the end of this lap. It will be the end of the next one. Things are getting tight. Tensions are building, and cautions do breed cautions. I just really don't want to be wrong, though. That's the important bit.
Yeah, we know that one. We'll take a quick look at some of our drivers as they steel themselves here. I tell you what, Hugo Olsen, he was just on the precipice of being able to challenge. Now he will have a real chance, as will Adam Blocker, as suddenly to Ty Keeler and Ryan Campbell, Gary.
I want to put a little IndyCar history here. That's my thing. Dario Franchitti won each of his Indy 500s, 3-time winner, all of them under caution. Rick Mears won one of his 4 under caution. Elio Castroneves arguably won one of his under caution, although Paul Tracy might debate that. So there's nothing wrong with winning under caution. We just don't do any gimmicks here in IndyCar. No green-white checker. Green-white checker has no place here in IndyCar racing. 500 miles, that's what you get, 500 miles. And yes, I'm looking at this Ty Keeler. Ty has a real good shot here on this restart. Ryan Campbell has a real good shot. Seb Alexander, Clindy has worked his way up in the top 10. But the whole Rogue Racing, that alliance group of drivers with Satellite Racing, Rogue Racing, and IAR, look where they are. They're all up in the top 12.
There's a level of attrition that has started to really shake things up from the Great Wall of Power Slide being 7 cars strong. Suddenly, it's just the top 4, and we are in for a real sprint. Just a reminder, this is just like the real Indy 500. No extra laps. We will finish after 500 miles of racing, whether it's under caution, whether it's under a sprint to the checkered flag. This PRI Hoosier 500, in its 4 previous runnings, has never finished behind the pace car. Let's hopefully send it off and away. And Rob Malechka has got 3 teammates behind for company to battle for this 2025 PRI Hoosier 500 win. Defending race winner is tucked into second and trying to plot his way forward. The 2-time king sat in third, and a driver who has come so close on so many occasions at this historic venue has already gone up high and is trying to do something different, Lewis.
Yeah, he's picking up the slipstream. He's carrying a bit more speed. Obviously, going to get very tight here with Phil Kraus looking to the outside as they go down to turn 3. Will Hugo Olsen make 3 wide? He looks to the outside. There's no way that's going to work for Olsen. Surely he's got to back out. He's going to leave it alongside the 3 wide with Kraus in the middle.
Oh my goodness. Brendan Lichtenberg will get a penalty for that contact that brought out the second caution of the day. But as we fly back down to the yard of bricks, we'll make it 5 laps left to go and almost 4 abeam. Ty Keeler's joined the fun, goes to the outside, finds his momentum blocked by Hugo Olsen as Malechka and Kraus pinching each other down low. It's the Swede, the 2-time champ, around the outside as they run onto the back straightaway with momentum on his side. But Phil Kraus up the middle. It's 3 wide to turn 3.
You're not supposed to go 3 wide through the turns at speed at Indy. It's a bit of a power slide pucker moment as all the teammates together, and if they take each other out, they'll wipe each other out and give the lead over to one of the cars behind them. 3 wide off the corner, coming to 4 to go. A qualifying run, 10-mile run to the finish. Arjuna, it's getting spicy, and we see Park flying.
Some contact, and Hugo Olsen hits the wall hard. Caution might just end the race, and was Phil Kraus in front at the time it flew. Oh my goodness, huge wreck on the pit straight, and Lewis, Phil Kraus now waits nervously to see what will happen.
Yeah, there was definitely some contact with Hugo Olsen from behind. I'm not sure 100% who it was. I think Adam Blocker certainly gave him a good whack. There was Ty Keeler then in the green car. That's where the contact was. There was rear wing racing, and as soon as he got tapped by Adam Blocker, boom, he goes round. He's some brophy straight into it. Absolute chaos on the start-finish straight, made by one seemingly insignificant moment.
And I think for Adam Blocker here, he did not realize that Hugo Olsen had taken significant rear wing damage and just did not have the speed going across the yard of bricks. Let's spool it back slightly further as we wait to see if this is going to be a 1-lap shootout or not. Gary on board with Ryan Campbell.
Yeah, this is I said pucker moment. Here it is right here. Oh, the racing gods were so kind to him.
Wow, oh wow. So, 3 to go. Hugo Olsen, by the way, is going to try and finish this race, even with the ruined race car that he has. Lewis, I think we get a 1-lap shootout here.
I actually don't.
Okay.
I don't think we do. I think it might well be done. Obviously, there is some in-game chat happening. I can tell that Adam Block is not particularly pleased with Taikila. But I'm just going to say this from looking from up above, Taikila's going for something, right? And then Hugo Olsen moves straight over on his nose because he's more focused on the cars ahead. I'm not saying it's Hugo Olsen's fault. I'm saying I'm more convinced it's more of a racing thing. You're all moving all over the place trying to pick 4 different lines. There is going to be a price to pay, and I'm not sure that I would necessarily blame Taikila from what I saw.
I think I don't disagree with you there. Let's see what happens as we cross the line. Remember, Brendan Lichtenberg didn't get a chance to serve his penalty, so he will finish 13th once everything is said and done. Olsen is going to have to drag that car to pit lane. Are we going to get the 1 lap? No, we do not. The lights stay on the pace car, and what that means is we finish under caution for the first time in the PRI Hoosier 500 history, and quite... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, lights off.
Lights are out. Lights have gone out.
Oh, wow.
Late.
Right. Time for us to predict the winner. Gary, I'll go with you first. Who gets this? Taikila's got a great shot.
I'm going to go with man Taikila. Let's go with the underdog right now.
Lewis?
I'm going to stick where I was at the start. I'm going Robert Malechka, the first winner from pole position.
Right. Breathe. Take a deep breath, because
I'm nervous.
I think everyone is very, very nervous right now. 199 laps effectively meaningless because it will come down to this. And Gary, we know that being at the front is sometimes the worst place to be.
Ask Marcus Ericsson, ask Pato O'Ward, ask Alex when he got passed by Helio Castroneves. Sometimes the place you don't want to be is leading.
Well, let's get ready to rumble. It will be Phil Kraus from Rob Malechka, the 2 previous winners of the iRacing Indy 500 that have a chance to win this 2025 PRI Hoosier 500. Off and away we will go, and Phil Kraus starts the snake early. Does Taikila have damage from that little bit of contact that saw the caution come out through turn 1? Kraus watches the rearview mirrors. Malechka picks up the speed, Lewis.
Yeah, they go through outside line, give him some slightly more speed. Robert Malechka will have the overspeed on Phil Kraus. Taikila, they're making triple slipstream to make it 3 wide. And Walker's going to make it 4 wide. It's down in the turn 3.
Oh my goodness, 3 wide, in through the corner, into the wall goes Taikila with a little bit of contact. It means Adam Blocker with the boldness, the authority to sweep up the inside into turn 3. Is it a drag race with Rob Malechka? But it's too little too late. It's Rob Malechka once again, the winner at Indianapolis, and for the very first time, a pole sitter converts into victory lane. My goodness gracious me, what a remarkable finish. And Rob Malechka pips it from Adam Blocker at the line, Gary.
I don't know what to say. I mean, that is the type of finish we expect to see. Rob Malechka, 27 hundredths of a second over Adam Blocker. And Blocker, again, bridesmaid still waiting, much like Tom Steva, but eventually, for Tom Steva's case, he eventually did get an Indy 500 win. Just a matter of time. Robert Malechka, final checkbox complete for RM3. He gets the big dub tonight.
My goodness, sensational racing. And Blocker will be thinking, what does he need to do? The Great Wall of Power Slide locks out the podium, but it was not the top 7 lockout they expected. Taikila is our Screen Mobile Rookie of the Year, narrowly fending off Ryan Campbell all the way to the very end. Here is our winning moments as Rob Malechka burns it down. Alex Russell joins the scene as well. And we will get into our post-race results and start to sink in a remarkable end to a remarkable event. So here we go. A look through our race results after 200 electric laps of racing. Rob Malechka, by 27 thousandths of a second, fends off the challenge of Adam Blocker, with Phil Kraus locking out the podium for the Team Hype Powerslide Motorsports combination. Then Ty Keeler in 4th, Ryan Campbell 5th, Seb Alexander, Carl Clenworth, Jason Brophy, Chad Simpson, and Jeff Drake, the top 10. Let's continue to make our way down through the results. Brendan Lichtenberg 11th, 12th for Josh Chin. Hugo Olsen, unfortunately, tangled up in that late race incident. He finishes down in 13th. 14th for Ricky Paz. Lots of fans cheering him on in front of Andrew Marquez, Brian Carey, Alex Van der Sande, Casey Pavlones, Alex Russell, and Jacob Oster. Matt Taylor 21st, Chris Fowler 22nd, and then AJ Musterman, Nick Lutschke, Rashad Craig, Noah Carmichael, Jacob Bradley, Blaze Andrich, Lucas Lodato, and Dylan Freckleton as you begin to get into the used car lot. Alexis Newsom, Christian Steele, and then a couple of drivers that we can ignore on the list. Well, what a remarkable way to end this race off, and a quite remarkable return for the PRI Hoosier 500. A slightly different schedule compared to in previous events, moving from the month of November into the month of December. Still so much excitement, so much fun. And now our team behind the scenes, Ryan Shull, Tanner Watkins, will get the opportunity to breathe for a little bit and to go into the planning with a fresh face into 2026. We apologize for some technical issues that we are having currently, but what we are going to try and do is catch up with some of those involved in that amazing finish on the run to the checkered flag here, the PRI Hoosier 500. Let's start by seeing if we can catch up with our race winner, Rob Malechka, who unfortunately forgot to turn his camera around correctly. But Rob, I mean, a sterling effort from the entire Powerslide team through the month of December. Tell us what you're feeling now on top here at the Speedway once again.
Well, I've now camera, but yeah, I mean, I feel got it's
well. I apologize to Rob. We are, as I mentioned, experiencing some technical issues. No fault of his, regrettably, and won't get a chance to catch up with him. Unfortunately, I think we are going to have to wrap up our coverage of the PRI Hoosier 500. Great to have Gary Godso, Lewis McLeod alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati, and what a fantastic event. A big thank you to Tanner Ryan and Connor behind the scenes for all of their hard work. But until 2026, until we get to do this all over again, it's goodbye from our team here at RaceSpot TV. Can't wait to do this once more.